Chapter 2156. Pu Luo and the others received their orders and set off with their teams. Yishang planned to clean up the surroundings of the spirit abyss and then advance toward the core area. As for whether the four teams would encounter powerful experts or not, Yishang was not worried. He could determine their location. He and Mo Tianji had arrived in time to provide support. The team set off. Night Sorrow set up a tent and stood outside, looking at the spirit abyss. The spirit abyss is not small. It has a radius of a few million miles. It will take a long time to clean it up. Besides, it won't decide the outcome of the battle. Let's go in and take a look. Only by killing Wu Lingzuan can we solve the fundamental problem, said Mo Tianji. If we encounter Wu Lingzuan's subordinates, we'll deal with them first. Night Sorrow nodded. After making the decision, Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji flew toward the spirit abyss. Under normal circumstances, the Emperor Tribulation cultivators would sense each other's opportunities very strongly. They could sense each other from a million miles away. However, after entering the spirit abyss, Mo Tianji and Night Sorrow lost this feeling. It was affected by the energy of the spirit abyss. The core area of the Tribulation realm is the spirit abyss. The origin of the realm is also in this area. Therefore, some of our opportunities have disappeared. We can only rely on our soul power to investigate. Be careful, Mo Tianji reminded Night Sorrow. Under such circumstances, there was no need for her to enter the Origin Treasure Pavilion immediately. She had lost her opportunity to sense, and so had Wu Lingzuan. What I'm thinking about now is whether Wu Lingzuan can control the origin of this tribulation realm. If he can, then he will find us first. In your words, this is his territory. He has the geographical advantage. Night Sorrow expressed his concern. It's hard to say. Neither of us dares to say that. So, let's take our time. Anyway, he can't beat us. If he can't beat us, then we'll pretend to be weak and run out of the spirit abyss. If he dares to chase us, then we'll kill him. If he doesn't chase us, then we'll play with him slowly. You should be good at positional warfare. Are you afraid we can't kill him? Said Mo Tianji. It's rare for a woman to be as domineering as you. We are the ones who are here to kill him. We can always think of a way to kill him. There are always more ways than difficulties. Night Sorrow smiled. Men are rarely as domineering as you. Perhaps this is why Jun Xuanji likes you, Mo Tianji said. Night Sorrow sighed. Originally, he and Jun Xuanji were good friends. It could be said that they were good friends who talked about everything. However, after that incident, Night Sorrow felt that he had a lot of things to do. He was somewhat embarrassed. Don't you plan to marry Jun Xuanji? Mo Tianji asked Night Sorrow. Heavenly concubine, let's not talk about this. Don't you feel awkward? Night Sorrow looked at Mo Tianji and shook his head. Mo Tianji's aura was very similar to Jun Xuanji's, but it was much stronger. Jun Xuanji had obtained the cultivation memories from Mo Tianji's memories, but his aura and aura were different. Mo Tianji had the aura of someone who had been in a high position for many eras. This was a true foundation. Ordinary cultivators, even the clan leaders of the Divine Beast clans, would feel pressured when they saw Mo Tianji. Night Sorrow did not feel pressured because he had good karma and reason. He could hold his head high in the world. Jun Xuanji could not do this. You're saying it like it's someone else's business, but it's actually no different from my own. She and I come from the same soul. This is unavoidable. I hope that Jun Xuanji can live well. Actually, I find you quite pleasing to the eye, so I'm just asking. I won't mention this again in the future. Mo Tianji told him some of her feelings. Night Sorrow smiled. Heavenly concubine, do you like the 9 regions world? Mo Tianji nodded. She really liked the 9 regions world. She had once lived in the Heaven Wasteland domain, the Celestial Realm's Heaven Wasteland domain. It was a world where killing happened frequently, and she was very tired. However, the 9 regions world was different. It was an extremely peaceful world. When Mo Tianji saw people she did not know on the streets, she would smile and nod. Being kind to others was a quality of the 9 regions world's cultivators. This also let Mo Tianji know that although the 9 regions world had not existed for long, its level of education was already very high. especially in the area of virtue. The cultivators of the 9 regions world all paid attention to their own virtue. Why ye, after my previous you like it? That's fine. In the future, you can choose a territory you like. I'll give it to you. You can build a dojo or find someone you like to live in seclusion. In short, you can live however you want, Night Sorrow said with a smile. This is the last era of the celestial realm. It's also the era with the cruelest wars. However, to me, it's the era with the greatest change in my life. I'm really grateful to you. I also apologize for the harm I've caused you in the past. Mo Tianji cupped her hands towards Night Sorrow. This time, you're sincere. However, there's no need for that. In the past, our positions were different. No one has the right to blame you, and no one will blame you. When the war is over, you can go back and arrange your own things. Night Sorrow reached out and held Mo Tianji's arm. There's only one era. I'll live seriously and experience the happiness of an ordinary person. Mo Tianji sighed. After seeing the lives of the people of the 9 regions world, Mo Tianji felt that her life in the past was indeed too hard. Night Sorrow shook his head. He suddenly felt a bit pressured because many people's fates were tied to his. In the words of the Origin Universe Senior of the Celestial Realm, passing the God-destroying tribulation would give one the ability to control the heavens and the cycle of reincarnation. One could change some things. That way, cultivators like the City Lord of Tianhuang and King Youwu who only had one era left would not die. However, passing the God-destroying tribulation was extremely difficult. There were 1,000 reincarnations in Tianhuang and 1,000 in the Celestial Realm. After 2,000 reincarnations, no one had passed the God-destroying tribulation. Night Sorrow was confident in himself, but he knew how difficult it was. Seeing Night Sorrow pondering, Mo Tianji did not say anything. She wrapped Night Sorrow in her protective domain and continued to move deeper into the spirit abyss. The tribulation world was the tribulation of the celestial realm. It was a very high-level tribulation. The spirit abyss was a special area. It was an underground sinkhole that constantly spewed out energy. The energy was the highest level of reincarnation energy, which was a forbidden attribute. This was also the reason why Huo Wu, a cultivator of the 5 Emperors' tribulation, could not get close. Night Sorrow, the energy here is so overbearing. If you don't control the origin of the world, it will be difficult to stay here. That bastard Wu Lingzuan most likely controlled the origin of the world. At the very least, he's communicating with the origin of the world, Mo Tianji cursed. In this situation, Tianji, you have to hide. He has the help of the origin of the world and can discover your existence. Then, we will be in a passive position, Night Sorrow said. Mo Tianji nodded and handed the Origin Treasure Pavilion to Night Sorrow. Safety first. Now, we need a strategy because I have not cultivated to the level of soul unification. If things don't work out, you can retreat. Wait until I reach soul unification and deal with him. He won't be able to run. 50 years is nothing. Chapter 2157. Night Sorrow pinned the Origin Enlightened Treasure Pagoda to his waist. Mo Tianji nodded at Night Sorrow before entering the Origin Enlightened Treasure Pagoda in a flash. TT unspecified currency forever and forever, free of charge reading novels without Mo Tianji's precept domain blocking it, Ling Yuan's samsara taboo energy that was invading outside rushed towards Night Sorrow's body. Night Sorrow did not use his precept domain. Instead, he used the virtuous immortal body. As he used the virtuous immortal body, glowing runes appeared around him. Robe. Night Sorrow put on the virtuous robe and blocked the samsara taboo energy that was invading his body. After familiarizing himself with the situation, Night Sorrow used the leakless true body to control the leakage of his energy aura and continued forward. Inside the Origin Enlightened Treasure Pagoda, Mo Tianji, who was using her soul power to investigate the situation outside, narrowed her eyes. She was shocked. Night Sorrow's situation surprised her. Night Sorrow did not use his true chi energy. Just the energy contained in his body was able to block the invasion of the samsara taboo energy. No one had ever achieved such an achievement in body cultivation before. Her body's strength had only started to have Tao rhymes after entering the tribulation of the 7 emperors. At that time, her strength was not as abnormal as Night Sorrow's. In other words, in terms of body strength, her tribulation of the 9 emperors' cultivation base and countless true chi energy baptisms were only comparable to Night Sorrow's current strength. Another point was Night Sorrow's use and control of energy. Ordinary cultivators could not control their energy perfectly without leakage. However, Night Sorrow had done it. There was no energy circulating outside the virtuous robe. Not only would it be difficult for the opponent to detect it, but the loss of energy during battle would also be minimal. It would accumulate a great advantage. Mo Tianji smiled. She was sincerely convinced. Mo Tianji was convinced that she had lost to Night Sorrow. She had no complaints. She realized that she was inferior to Night Sorrow in all aspects. Now, she was stronger than Night Sorrow because she had accumulated a lot of experience. In other aspects, she could not compare to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow strode forward with the Bloodcorin evil vanquishing spear on his back. With the virtuous robe protecting him, the spirit abyss energy was like a soldier meeting a king, avoiding him. As they advanced, Night Sorrow pushed his soul power to the maximum, constantly probing. If he could discover Sovereign Crow Spirit first, he would have the upper hand. While Night Sorrow was moving forward, Mo Tianji's soul power reached Night Sorrow's godly sea. She communicated with Night Sorrow and asked him for advice on how to cultivate without leaking his aura. Night Sorrow talked to Mo Tianji. If they could kill Black Spirit Supremacy, she would give him the cultivation method for the leakless true body. Hearing this, Mo Tianji was surprised. Cultivators placed great importance on inheritances and absolute arts. She was not prepared for Night Sorrow to teach her just like that. I can teach it to you, but you can only cultivate it yourself. You can't teach it to anyone else because it's not something I researched myself. It's the Ice Dragon clans. If I teach it to you, I'll have to put down my old face and tell them. Yi Shang communicated with Mo Tianji through his soul power. This is a big favor. I will accept it. In the future, I will do whatever Night Sorrow says. This time I will not take half. All the resources will be yours, said Mo Tianji. Tianji, if you are using resources to measure these things, I am very disappointed. I am not asking for anything in return by teaching you this cultivation method. I am not asking for anything in return, nor am I trying to negotiate with you. It is because of our friendship and because you are my friend. Night Sorrow transmitted his thoughts to Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji was silent for a while before apologizing to Night Sorrow. She also explained that she was not looking down on Night Sorrow, nor was she trying to blaspheme his friendship. She just did not know how to repay him. Night Sorrow told Mo Tianji that he and his brothers, sisters, and friends did not ask for anything in return. They would not be stingy if they could help each other. Smiling, Mo Tianji told Night Sorrow that she would change her thoughts and attitude in the future. After saying that, Mo Tianji was stunned. She had never thought that there would be a day when she would say that she would try to change her thoughts and attitude to someone else. Furthermore, she was willing to say it. Night Sorrow knew that Mo Tianji had really changed. He was very happy. While moving forward, Night Sorrow used his soul power to check the situation. After entering the spirit abyss, Night Sorrow did not find any life forms. Not to mention cultivators, there was not even an ordinary life form. Night Sorrow also understood that ordinary life forms would not be able to survive in such a special area. Even Hua Wu, a 5th Emperor Tribulation cultivator, would not be able to come here, let alone other life forms. Suddenly Yi Shang stopped in his tracks and pondered. It was Pu Luo's original body who found Yi Shang's original body, who was cultivating in the heavenly desolate city. He told Yi Shang that the people he led had found a palace. They hadn't attacked yet, and the other side hadn't found anything. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that there was still time. He did not need to go there himself, so he found Lu Qi's true body. Then he found Blood Qilin King, who was also in Tianhuang City, and told them to go there. This way, he could continue to go deeper into the spirit abyss without having to retreat. Night Sorrow also told Pu Luo that if Wu Lingzuan was in the palace or if he went to help, He should crush his soul crystal immediately. Pu Luo nodded. Night Sorrow, I've troubled you. I will go into seclusion later to improve my strength. I can't let you take care of everything. We are brothers. You don't have to be so polite. The city lord and the great elder are not here. My original body is guarding the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, so I won't go. Yi Shang communicated with Pu Luo. After his true body took care of things, Night Sorrow told Mo Tianji about the situation. Heavenly concubine, this world is a tribulation world. The biggest difference between them and us is that they do not have avatars. I confirmed this with Huo Wu and the others, so their information transmission is more limited. Then let's continue forward. If Venerable Wu Lingzuan is in the spirit abyss, he won't know that his base has been attacked. Even if he knows, we can go there at full speed. We can go there in time to help. Although Lu Qi is a little weak, he's not useless, said Mo Tianji. Heavenly concubine. Don't be so discouraging. Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. To be honest, among the 100 clans of the Heaven Realm, there are only a few people who are not trash in my eyes. The Lord of Heavenly Desolate City and King Yo Wu are indeed rich people. While improving their cultivation, their combat ability is indeed strong. Your master Yen Wushuang is the same as them. Her cultivation is a little lower, but her combat ability is good. Later, she obtained the Human Emperor's seal. Her combat ability was the best during that time. The Grand Elder is a little weaker. Before your master obtained the Human Emperor's seal, the Demon Wing clan had the strength to attack the Tianhuang city. In order to be more confident, I had been holding back. In the end, your master obtained the Human Emperor's seal and the situation was reversed. Later on, you should know that Lu Qi is a rising star, and Pu Luo is even younger. It was not their era. Mo Tianji told Night Sorrow her evaluation of the experts of the 100 races of the celestial realm. Perhaps you are right. However, it is not easy. We should give them some respect. Night Sorrow said. Chapter 2158. Tianji, you're already very powerful to be able to reach this level. I'm very impressed, Night Sorrow said. I'm quite satisfied with myself. But looking back, I feel that sometimes I didn't do my best. If the 3 great heavens of the Demon Wing clan had given up on their lifespan and directly tried to break through, the 100 races of the celestial realm wouldn't have been able to hold on. Mo Tianji talked about her past shortcomings. Everyone has different values. I feel that as long as you do your best, it's enough. After you've done your best, every time you look back, there's no regret, only pride. Night Sorrow expressed his feelings. Mo Tianji didn't say anything else. She was afraid that she would be affected because she had never been able to achieve Night Sorrow's resolve. As they moved forward, Night Sorrow felt the pressure increase. Fortunately, the Merit Immortal body could withstand it. After moving forward for 1,000,000 miles, Night Sorrow stopped and adjusted his direction. Mo Tianji asked. Night Sorrow told her that the world origin in his divine sea had sensed it. Are you stupid? If the world origin in your body sensed it, then the world origin of Calamity's world origin will naturally sense it too. If Black Spirit Supremacy controls or communicates with the world origin of Calamity's world origin, he'll definitely know and kill his way over. You don't need to go deep at all. Mo Tianji stopped Night Sorrow. You're the stupid one. I have the world origin of a supreme world. How can it be compared to the world origin of Calamity's world origin? I can find it, but it can't find me. Do you understand? Night Sorrow was called stupid. He was very conflicted because almost no one talked to him like that. I said you're stupid, but you still don't admit it. Don't you know how to activate the world origin? That way, it'll be much easier to lure it out. You'll also run a shorter distance outside. Are you going to be hot-headed and send people to it? Mo Tianji retorted Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow stopped in his tracks. He felt that Mo Tianji was right. He could release his aura and let the origin of Tribulation Realm sense it. Then, Tribulation Realm would notify Black Spirit Sovereign. All he had to do was wait here. Finding it feasible, Night Sorrow used his soul power to stimulate the 9 regions' origin beads, releasing the aura of World Essence. Next, he released his soul power as much as he could to investigate. Night Sorrow, you don't need to release your soul force. I'll do it. Mo Tianji released her soul power. Her soul power was much stronger than Night Sorrow's, so she didn't need Night Sorrow's soul power to check. After 15 minutes, Mo Tianji communicated with Night Sorrow with her soul power. Run. There are experts in the southeast. They are very fast. Night Sorrow turned and flew at full speed. This was Paragon Black Spirit's territory, and he wanted to leave. Quick. Can you go any faster? He's twice as fast as you. It won't take long for him to catch up. Mo Tianji urged Night Sorrow. She was worried about Night Sorrow's safety. Space friend. Using the void steps, Night Sorrow increased his speed. He is much faster than you. According to my estimation, he will catch up to you 200,000 miles away from the periphery of Spirit Abyss. Mo Tianji gave her estimate. Night Sorrow was shocked. He knew that this was Paragon Black Spirit's territory, but he didn't expect Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign to be so fast. However, there was nothing he could do. This was his fastest speed. Maintaining his speed, Night Sorrow rushed out of Spirit Abyss. Mo Tianji reminded Night Sorrow of the distance. When he was 400,000 miles away from the periphery of Spirit Abyss, Night Sorrow found Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign. He was a man wearing a black robe with runes. His body was filled with a ferocious aura, and there was a special mark on his forehead. It was a golden red mark. He was really fast. Night Sorrow could only maintain this speed. There was nothing he could do about it. He was good at agility, but moving in a straight line was different. He couldn't compare to someone with a higher cultivation. Night Sorrow, if he catches up, I will carry you and fly, Mo Tianji said. She was very worried now because she realized that Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign's cultivation was at the peak of the 8 Emperor Tribulation. The difference between Night Sorrow and Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign was too great. No, if you show up in advance, we won't be able to stop him if he wants to run. He controls the world's origin, and Spirit Abyss is his territory. My world's origin can't resist his world's origin, so we must lure him out. If we don't leave Spirit Abyss, don't do anything. Luring him out is my mission. Night Sorrow expressed his insistence. Mo Tianji didn't say anything. She had her own considerations. She was afraid that something would happen to Night Sorrow. In addition, Mo Tianji was sure that she couldn't defeat Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign in the Spirit Abyss. Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign didn't just have a precept domain to protect his speed, he also had the world's origin surrounding him. In other words, he was the realm master of this tribulation world. As they chased, Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign and Night Sorrow got closer and closer. You have the world's origin. No matter which world you are from, you will die here today and become nourishment for Spirit Abyss and the world's origin. Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign roared as he chased. Night Sorrow didn't say anything and continued to fly. Mo Tianji's estimation was right. They were still close to 200,000 miles before they could leave Spirit Abyss. This 200,000 miles was his mission. When Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign got closer to Night Sorrow and was in attack range, he waved his battle blade and slashed at Night Sorrow's back. Night Sorrow used void steps and flew out diagonally, dodging Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign's slash and continuing to fly. More V1 new high fastest peon. Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign's speed slowed down a little after one slash. He caught up and continued to slash. Void steps, afterimage body. Night Sorrow used the two movement techniques alternately, dodging Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign's slash and continuing to fly. He had no intention of counterattacking. The difference between the two of them was too great. He was too fragile in front of Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign. His life would be gone. Mo Tianji was very worried, but she also knew that if she went out now, Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign would see that his cultivation was inferior to hers. Even if he didn't run, he wouldn't leave Spirit Abyss. The assassination plan would fail. Under Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign's attacks, she got closer and closer to Night Sorrow. The damage of her attacks became greater and more violent. Suppress. Venerate Crow Spirit's Dao domain enveloped Yichang when he saw how nimble Yichang's movements were. Merit Primordial Dao domain. Seeing Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign use Dao Domain to suppress him, Night Sorrow switched his Dao Domain to the Merit Primordial Dao Domain. The Reincarnation Dao Domain was good at suppressing and supporting attacks, while the Primordial Dao Domain was good at melting defense. The suppression was ineffective. It wasn't exactly ineffective, but the effect wasn't ideal. This surprised Paragon Black Spirit Sovereign. He didn't expect that his Dao Domain at 80% of its strength wouldn't be enough to suppress Night Sorrow. After all, there was a 50% difference. Chapter 2159. Origin Force Suppression. Night Sorrow, who was being suppressed, activated the 9-domain Origin Pearl and released the world's Origin Force to counter Black Spirit Supremacy's Origin Force suppression. Black Spirit Supremacy was stunned. He knew that Night Sorrow had Origin Force, but he didn't expect Night Sorrow to be able to control such a strong Origin Force to resist the suppression. This was the Tribulation Realm's home ground, and the Spirit Abyss's Origin Force suppression was very strong. Night Sorrow also didn't know that if the 9-domain world's level wasn't higher than the Great World's and the world's Origin Force wasn't strong, he would be suppressed. After all, the Tribulation Realm's level wasn't low either. Night Sorrow didn't care about anything else. As long as there was a chance to run, he wouldn't let it go. He was now very close to the Spirit Abyss, less than 60,000 miles away. As long as he made it out of this distance, it would be Mo Tianji's turn. With the virtuous Origin Domain and the support of the Origin Force, Night Sorrow used the 2 movement techniques and the space-time realm at the same time to continuously charge out of the Spirit Abyss. Black Spirit Supremacy was very angry. His battle blade continuously slashed at Night Sorrow. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow needed to use the space-time realm. Black Spirit Supremacy's blade aura was too dense. If he was hit, he would lose his life. Night Sorrow wasn't suppressed. His speed was the same as before. He had his movement techniques and defensive techniques to block Black Spirit Supremacy's blade aura. Although he was in danger, he wasn't hit yet. He was like a small boat in the sea that could be swallowed at any time. Mo Tianji, whose soul strength had been locked onto the outside, was waiting to attack. Her heart was in her throat. She was very nervous because a single mistake from Yishang would be fatal. This made her admire Yishang's courage. Ordinary people wouldn't do this, let alone Night Sorrow, who had reached the level where he could succeed as long as he pursued stability. Night Sorrow did not turn back. Instead, he quickly rushed towards the periphery of the Spirit Abyss. He knew that Mo Tianji's attack would only be effective outside the Spirit Abyss. In the Spirit Abyss, Supremacy Crow Spirit's control of the World Origin's power was too powerful. He used the World Origin's power to protect his body, but it only prevented him from being suppressed. The other areas around him were suppressed and enveloped by the World Origin's power. In this situation, it was useless for Mo Tianji to attack. If Black Spirit Sovereign controlled the energy in the Spirit Abyss and the World Origin Force to protect himself, then it would be almost impossible for Mo Tianji to defeat Black Spirit Sovereign. The resolute Night Sorrow continuously used Spatial Rend to open up a path ahead. Then he used Afterimage Body to confuse Venerable Crow Spirit. In times of crisis, he used Space-Time Realm to dodge the attack. Mo Tianji had always been cheering for Night Sorrow. She had encountered many dangers, but she had never encountered a situation like this. Night Sorrow was risking his life for a chance to kill Black Spirit Sovereign. Because the suppression was ineffective and Night Sorrow's movement technique and defense were heaven-defying, Black Spirit Sovereign's attacks all missed. Night Sorrow was getting closer and closer to the periphery of the Spirit Abyss. Tianji, don't be in a hurry to attack. My situation will be better after I leave the Spirit Abyss. He won't be able to kill me. I'll run further away, then you can come out and kill him. You must avenge me. Night Sorrow communicated with Mo Tianji through his soul power. Be careful. Mo Tianji held her sword in her right hand and kept an eye on the situation. She knew that the most dangerous path for Night Sorrow was to leave the Spirit Abyss. After leaving the Spirit Abyss, Black Spirit Sovereign's suppression of the Spirit Abyss would weaken, and Night Sorrow would be able to run more comfortably. After communicating with Mo Tianji, Night Sorrow shouted at Black Spirit Sovereign, who was swinging his blade, "You want to seize the world origins? You're not qualified. Don't be fooled by your jumping. You've already exhausted 30% of your energy. How much longer can you run? I'll cut you into pieces." Black Spirit Sovereign had been observing Night Sorrow's situation and could see that Night Sorrow was exhausted. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He had angered Black Spirit Sovereign and made it so that he wouldn't give up the chase. His goal had been achieved. A moment later, Night Sorrow rushed out of the Spirit Abyss. Easy. Night Sorrow felt a lot more relaxed. Inside the Spirit Abyss, the suppression of the Spirit Abyss's energy was not to be underestimated. Black Spirit Sovereign carried the world origins and controlled the Spirit Abyss's energy. After leaving the Spirit Abyss, Night Sorrow used spatial rend and tore through space to enter the turbulent space. He flew through the turbulent space with Black Spirit Sovereign following closely behind, still swinging his blade. Night Sorrow tore through space and returned to the real world. He used spatial barrier to cancel out the power and accuracy of Black Spirit Sovereign's blade. He was really baiting Black Spirit Sovereign as if he was running for his life. This kind of bait was realistic. Keep jumping. The Black Spirit Supremacy was very angry. Night Sorrow should have been an ant that he could casually crush before him, yet he had been jumping around for a while now. Night Sorrow shuttled back and forth between the Tribulation Realm and the turbulent space. Black Spirit Sovereign chased into the turbulent space while Night Sorrow entered the Tribulation Realm. Once Black Spirit Sovereign returned, he would enter. This consumed a lot of energy, but Night Sorrow wasn't afraid because Mo Tianji would be able to make her move soon. After leaving the Spirit Abyss, Night Sorrow's speed increased. In a few breaths of time, he had traveled tens of thousands of miles. After Night Sorrow entered the turbulent space again, Mo Tianji appeared. The time had come, and they were still some distance away from the Spirit Abyss. Black Spirit Sovereign was no longer able to use the Spirit Abyss's energy. Tribulation Realm of the Nine Emperors. You tricked this sovereign. Looking at Mo Tianji between him and Night Sorrow, Black Spirit Sovereign understood everything. This was a trap to trick him. Catch! Night Sorrow flashed into the Clear Sky Pagoda. Then, the Clear Sky Pagoda flew into Mo Tianji's hand. Looking at the Clear Sky Pagoda in her hand, Mo Tianji hesitated for a moment. Then she put the Clear Sky Pagoda in her lapel. She was wearing a loose silk dress without a belt, so she couldn't wear it like Night Sorrow. After putting away the Clear Sky Pagoda, Mo Tianji looked at Black Spirit Sovereign. Black Spirit Sovereign, are you having fun chasing me? He wants to vent his anger, so you are dead. Shameless boasting. This is the Tribulation Realm, my Black Spirit world. Here I'm the ruler. Your Tribulation Realm of Nine Emperors cultivation is useless. The Black Spirit Sovereign protected himself with his Dao domain. Then he charged at Mo Tianji with the world's origin energy. Mo Tianji used her reincarnation Dao domain to protect herself. At the same time, she discovered that her Dao domain was filled with the Nine Domains world's origin energy. This origin energy suppressed Black Spirit Sovereign's origin energy. After the battle began, Black Spirit Sovereign was suppressed by Mo Tianji. Mo Tianji's cultivation was not only high, but she was also the leader of the three grand heavens of the Demon-Winged clan. Her combat ability was strong. Sword Chi surrounded Black Spirit Sovereign and cut him up. Black Spirit Sovereign's expression changed. His Dao domain was suppressed. His Dao domain was not a forbidden attribute, so its level was not high enough. In addition, this was the turbulent space. He could not use the world's origin energy much. This was also the reason why Mo Tianji attacked in the turbulent space. She wanted to use the environment to limit Black Spirit Sovereign. Chapter 2160. If it had been a normal relationship, it would have been inappropriate for him to help in a one-on-one duel as it would have hurt his reputation. However, Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji did not need his help. If he had too many concerns, he would be hypocritical. Let's work together to kill him. Mo Tianji responded to Night Sorrow. She also treated Night Sorrow as a teammate. Her precept domain did not restrict Night Sorrow's energy and soul power. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow could smoothly integrate the world origin power into her precept domain. Today is the first time we've worked together. We must win. Night Sorrow controlled the Soul Annihilation Slash, ignoring Black Spirit Supremacy's protective precept domain and slashing at him. Night Sorrow could not compete with True Energy, but his soul power was not afraid of True Energy defense. Mo-Star. New W? Chapter 1 Wu Upper P. Seeing Night Sorrow's soul attack, Black Spirit Supremacy cursed. A gray energy halo appeared around his body for defense. It was the World Origin Pearl's defense. Night Sorrow could control the 9-region Origin Pearl to defend the Divine Sea, but so could Black Spirit Supremacy. As Night Sorrow's Soul Annihilation Slash landed on Black Spirit Supremacy's protective energy halo, the collision of the soul power caused the halo to ripple in all directions. Black Spirit Supremacy's attack also paused for a moment. In addition, his control of the world origin power weakened significantly. This was the effect of the Soul Annihilation Slash's negative attack. Black Spirit Supremacy had blocked the Soul Annihilation Slash's direct attack, but he could not defend against the negative attack. He could no longer control the world origin power to fight Mo Tianji. Without the support of the world origin power, Black Spirit Supremacy was flustered. Even with the world origin power, he was still suppressed by Mo Tianji. Now that he did not have the world origin power to support his precept domain, he was even worse off. Well done. Mo Tianji praised Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow's attack had weakened Black Spirit Supremacy by 30%. Her taboo reincarnation precept domain had completely suppressed Black Spirit Supremacy. Continue. After Night Sorrow replied with these 3 words, he controlled the Soul Extinguishing Slash to continuously attack Zun Wulingzuan's spiritual sea. He knew that he couldn't break through Zun Wulingzuan's spiritual defense, but he could interfere and weaken Zun Wulingzuan's combat strength. Feeling that the power was not enough, Night Sorrow activated the 9 regions origin beads and infused origin power into the crescent blade of the Soul Annihilation Slash, increasing its power. Night Sorrow's Soul Extinguishing Slash with his origin power made Zun Crow's origin power unable to affect the battlefield. It could only defend against Night Sorrow's attacks. Under such circumstances, Black Spirit Zun, who was weaker than Mo Tianji, was in an even worse situation. His body had already been struck by Mo Tianji's sword qi. His movement speed and attack power had already been affected. At the high-level Emperor Tribulation realm, it was impossible for the 2 sides to finish the battle in 1 or 2 moves. Both of their bodies were immortal and indestructible. Both of them had to constantly attack each other. The stacking of damage would continuously destroy the insides of their bodies. Now, Mo Tianji's sword qi had already begun to stack on Zun Wulingzuan. Zun Wulingzuan waved his saber, but his attacks were not effective. Mo Tianji's domain was too suppressive. His saber aura was suppressed by Mo Tianji's domain, causing its attack power and speed to decrease. Zun Wulingzuan waved his saber and slashed open the spatial barrier. He wanted to leave because if this continued, he would lose. Zun Wulingzuan wanted to run, but Mo Tianji naturally did not want to. Inside the spatial turbulence, Zun Wulingzuan's world origin power was the least effective. Mo Tianji's body flashed and appeared between Zun Wulingzuan and the spatial crack. She then waved her sword and attacked. With the domain suppression and Night Sorrow's Soul Extinguishing Slash, Zun Wulingzuan's speed was too slow compared to Mo Tianji's. Therefore, he was intercepted. Not only did he not manage to escape, but he was also hit by Mo Tianji's sword. What a pair of dogs. Being affected by Night Sorrow and being hit by Mo Tianji's sword qi, Zun Wulingzuan started cursing. The situation was not looking good for him. Trash. This is war. It's your own fault for being stupid. It's your own fault for being inferior. After being scolded, Mo Tianji was very angry. In the past, no one had dared to scold her. After being attacked by Mo Tianji's sword qi, the forbidden samsara energy entered his body and destroyed it. Zun Wulingzuan's battle power was getting weaker and weaker. The main reason was that he could not suppress Mo Tianji's sword qi's destruction of his body. Night Sorrow controlled the soul extinguishing slash and continuously slashed at Zun Wulingzuan's soul defense. He wanted to disturb Zun Wulingzuan so that he could not focus on Mo Tianji. Zun Wulingzuan kept roaring. At this moment he hated Night Sorrow the most. It was Night Sorrow who had lured him out. It was also Night Sorrow's soul attack that made him unable to focus on Mo Tianji's attacks. After being hit by another sword chi, gray flames appeared on Zun Wulingzuan's body. He slashed out a few times in all directions and then rushed towards a spatial crack. At this moment he was extremely fast. Mo Tianji could not stop him in time. She could only send out a sword chi that pierced through Zun Wulingzuan's body. The heavily injured Zun Wulingzuan returned to Tribulation Realm. Just as Zun Wulingzuan suppressed his injuries and was about to leave, Mo Tianji also arrived in Tribulation Realm. Her precept domain once again wrapped around Zun Wulingzuan. However, the suppression was not strong. Zun Wulingzuan felt that the situation was not good. He had already burned his true chi to increase his battle power. Zun Wulingzuan, who had withstood the suppression, fought while moving towards Spirit Abyss. This bastard is running away regardless of the cost. Mo Tianji was anxious. She could kill Zun Wulingzuan, but she could not stop him from escaping. Virtuous Reincarnation Precept Domain. Night Sorrow appeared from the Clear Sky Pagoda and released his Virtuous Taboo Reincarnation Domain. It overlapped with Mo Tianji's Reincarnation Domain to suppress Zun Wulingzuan. Normally speaking, the power of two precept domains could not be overlapped. Night Sorrow's precept domain was not suppressed by Mo Tianji's precept domain because she did not guard against Night Sorrow. In addition, their precept domains were of the same origin and the virtuous golden light was very inclusive. Thus, they formed a combination. Zun Wulingzuan staggered and was suppressed again. This time, the suppression was even stronger. This was because Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji had both used their accumulation and foundation. Let's see if you can run again and talk nonsense again. Or you. Sword G slash. Mo Tianji grabbed Night Sorrow's shoulder with her left hand and made Night Sorrow move with her. At the same time, she cursed and swung her sword. Night Sorrow's original speed could not keep up with Mo Tianji's. Now that Mo Tianji was carrying him, not only could he keep up, but he was also not in any danger. Being carried by Mo Tianji, Night Sorrow's soul slash continued to attack Zun Wulingzuan's soul defense. Why aren't you cursing anymore? Aren't you going to escape with your soul? Mo Tianji swung her sword and attacked with her words. She had communicated with Night Sorrow. As long as Zun Wulingzuan escaped, Night Sorrow would use the virtuous fire to trap him. Then he would deal with the Calamity Realm's origin while she would deal with Zun Wulingzuan, who was controlled by the soul fire. Zun Wulingzuan also knew that the situation was not good. He was still more than 30,000 miles away from the Spirit Abyss. Normally, he could cross it in an instant. But now, it was the distance between life and death. Mo Tianji and Night Sorrow would not let him go back so easily. The two of them had devised such a meticulous plan and strategy to kill him. Chapter 2161. Wulingzuan continued to resist. After all, he was an 8th Emperor Tribulation cultivator. Even if he was heavily injured, he wouldn't fall down so easily. Mo Tianji was standing between Wulingzuan and Lingyuan. She kept pressuring Wulingzuan. Even if Wulingzuan dodged the attacks, he would only get further and further away from Lingyuan. #MF Yong Wujio, Free Watch 7C Talk. After being hit a few more times, Wulingzuan felt that he couldn't take it anymore. If this continued, he would definitely die. His soul leaving his body was the only way out. With a loud roar, Wulingzuan's body began to expand. He was going to self-destruct to cover the escape of his soul. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Soul chain. Mo Tianji's forehead glowed. Then, a few cyan chains shot out and lashed Wulingzuan's body, interrupting his self-destruction. As a 9th Emperor Tribulation cultivator, how could Mo Tianji not have a soul attack? She hadn't used it because she wanted to restrict Wulingzuan's strange moves. Bastard! Wulingzuan didn't know how to describe his anger. Night Sorrow's domain and soul attack assisted Mo Tianji's battle, greatly reducing his combat power. Mo Tianji's cultivation was higher than his, and her attributes were more overbearing. Therefore, he was far from being her match. Now, he couldn't even self-destruct. Even if he couldn't self-destruct, Wu Lingzuan couldn't wait for death. He was a straightforward person. He gave up his body and his soul left his body to run. Virtuous fire bind. The power of merit within Night Sorrow's merit Dao domain turned into flames, which flew out and trapped Sovereign Crow Spirit's soul. Then, the human Emperor's seal appeared in the air and suppressed Sovereign Crow Spirit's soul. Mo Tianji slashed with her long sword. Sword chi vibrated inside the virtuous fire and attacked Wu Lingzuan's soul. At the same time, Wu Lingzuan's body was put away. This way, Wu Lingzuan couldn't go back even if he wanted to. Wu Lingzuan kept roaring. He didn't expect his soul to be restricted and suppressed when it left his body. This shouldn't have happened. It was almost impossible to restrict the soul of a high-level Imperial Tribulation cultivator. Yan Wushuang and Mo Tianji used to be like this. Once her soul left her body, her opponent couldn't control it. Now, Wu Lingzuan's soul was being controlled because of many factors. Origin blessing. Sovereign Wu Lingzuan roared. He wanted to return to the spirit abyss alive and never come out again. But what shocked Venerable Black Spirit was that the Tribulation World's origin bead didn't care about him anymore. It left his soul and flew away. The moment the Tribulation origin bead left Crow Spirit Sovereign's soul body, Night Sorrow reacted. The 9 regions origin bead left his body, and at the same time, his soul power and virtue power supported the 9 regions origin bead to suppress the Tribulation origin bead. Then, he rushed towards the Tribulation origin bead. Leave your virtuous fire behind. Don't worry about anything else. Mo Tianji shouted at Yishang, who was leaving her. After controlling the 9 realm origin beads and the power of good karma to suppress the origin bead of the Tribulation realm, Night Sorrow used the Samsara Nirvana palm and the destructive True Dragon incantation in succession. He knew that he didn't have many chances. Once the origin bead gained sentience, it would be very powerful in its own world. It had just left its master, and it was currently in its most uncomfortable period. If he couldn't suppress it during this period, it would run back to the spirit abyss. Under the suppression of the 9 regions origin bead, the Tribulation World's origin bead's movement was suppressed. Next, Yishang's Samsara Nirvana palm slapped it so hard that it could no longer fly. It nearly fell to the ground. At the same time, Yishang's destructive True Dragon formula struck its body. When the Tribulation origin bead's intelligence was unstable, Night Sorrow reached out with his left hand and grabbed the Tribulation origin bead. Sacred Scripture Blessing. Night Sorrow roared. The golden characters of the sacred scripture of human Tao appeared on his left hand and tightly wrapped around the Tribulation origin bead. The Tribulation origin bead kept shaking, but it couldn't break free. Night Sorrow's fire of virtue trapped the Black Spirit Sovereign's soul and burned it. The Black Spirit Sovereign's soul fled with the fire of virtue, but it couldn't escape the range of the human Emperor's seal. Its struggle grew weaker and weaker. Mo Tianji's attacks never stopped. Sword chi and soul chains bombarded it, constantly wearing down its soul power. Yishang looked at the Tribulation World origin bead in his left hand, which was trembling but unable to escape his control. He put the 9 region origin bead back into his divine sea. Then, he used his origin power to suppress the Tribulation World origin bead. Unable to escape, the Black Spirit Sovereign of the Tribulation of 8 Emperors dissipated after taking more than 70 strikes from Mo Tianji. Damn, were you the one who killed the last one? What a loss. Mo Tianji said to Night Sorrow after collecting the storage ring dropped by the Black Spirit Sovereign's soul flame. My fire of virtue burned continuously without any gaps. Your sword chi had gaps, so the last one to destroy his soul was mine. Night Sorrow smiled. At Mo Tianji and Night Sorrow's level, they were very sensitive to the Tao of Fortune. After the death of the Black Spirit Sovereign, the Heavenly Tao recognized their contributions to the celestial realm. Mo Tianji realized that Night Sorrow had more Tao of Fortune than her. Let's go. Let's hurry back to the celestial realm and break this. That's the biggest benefit. I'll let you do it. Night Sorrow pointed his chin at the tribulation origin bead in his left hand. In order to speed up, Emo Tianji grabbed Night Sorrow's arm and flew with Night Sorrow. The two of them wanted to return to the celestial realm to deal with the tribulation origin bead. This way, they could increase the Doomsday Tao of Fortune for the last era of the celestial realm. After arriving at the stronghold, Night Sorrow and Emo Tianji used the teleportation formation to teleport. At this time, the two of them didn't care who was at the spatial tunnel entrance. After exiting the spatial tunnel, Night Sorrow clasped the tribulation origin bead in his hands and nodded at Emo Tianji. Begin. Under the surprised gazes of Lu Qi, Huang Ling, Green Rock Forefather, and the others, Emo Tianji attacked the tribulation origin bead with her sword. After 3 strikes, the tribulation origin bead that had left its own world was shattered by Emo Tianji. This time, the two of them received the same amount of Tao of Fortune. After the tribulation origin bead shattered, the origin power it contained spread. However, only half of it spread. The other half was absorbed by the 9 realms origin bead in Night Sorrow's divine sea. We need to hurry back. There are probably still treasures in the spirit abyss, Emo Tianji said to Night Sorrow. 7th Elder, the leader of the tribulation origin bead, Black Spirit Sovereign, is dead. Don't let the Black Iron Army near the spatial tunnel escape. After shouting, Night Sorrow and Emo Tianji entered the spatial tunnel entrance and used the teleportation formation to continue teleporting. Enforcer Elder, what's going on? Green Rock Forefather asked. Chapter 2162. What's going on? How can a war be fought so quickly and so quickly? We're just watching the door? Long Yixing looked at Lu Qi and the others in surprise. He didn't expect this outcome. We're old. We're already old. We don't understand the world of the young. This speed is too overbearing. Methods, strategies, and strength are all indispensable. That person is very strong, Huang Ling said. She had some guesses, but since no one said anything, she didn't ask. According to Night Sorrow's orders, Azure Dragon King, Green Rock Forefather, Soul Emperor, will all enter and completely wipe out the Black Iron Army near the entrance. Then we'll wait for Night Sorrow to return, Lu Qi said. His clone and Pu Luo were in Black Spirit Palace. His original body was guarding here. The attack on Black Spirit Palace was also nearing its end. Night Sorrow and Emo Tianji took the teleportation array to the stronghold. Then they flew toward the Spirit Abyss. The Spirit Abyss was the core area of the Tribulation Realm. It was where the origin beads were produced. There would definitely be spirit stones there. This was also why Night Sorrow and Emo Tianji hurried back. Anyone would be excited if there were treasures. Night Sorrow's original body, who was cultivating at the top of the Heaven Wasteland Tower, felt the growth of his power of merit. It was a leap in growth. He had contributed a lot to the celestial realm this time. He had prevented the 100 races of the celestial realm from being affected by the flames of war. If it wasn't for his merit cultivation reaching level 6, he would have leveled up. In the tribulation realm, Night Sorrow and Emo Tianji flew straight toward the depths of the Spirit Abyss. The forbidden reincarnation energy of the Spirit Abyss only suppressed them a little. It didn't hurt them. After 4 hours, Night Sorrow and Emo Tianji arrived at the edge of the Spirit Abyss sinkhole. That bastard Black Spirit Sovereign really knows how to choose a place. The spirit chi here is really dense. Emo Tianji sighed. Let's go. There are no world origins or cultivators here. There shouldn't be anything that can threaten our safety. Night Sorrow then flew into the sinkhole. He wanted to see the bottom of the sinkhole. First Emo Tianji followed Night Sorrow into the sinkhole. The sinkhole was really deep. Night Sorrow and Emo Tianji flew for hundreds of miles before reaching the bottom of the sinkhole. The bottom of the sinkhole was filled with surging reincarnation energy and energy smoke. Such dense energy, there must be treasures at the bottom of the pit. Let's dig. Night Sorrow took out a saber that he had obtained from Lu Xing's Legion commander and started digging. Emo Tianji extravagantly took Sovereign Wu Ling's warblade and started digging. At the same time, she said, "In a bit, we'll open Sovereign Wu Ling's ring and split the resources. Also, What do you plan to do with Sovereign Wu Ling's corpse? If I had killed the Black Spirit Sovereign myself, I would have placed him in the 9-domain world's heaven-sealing Great Hall and let the world's origin energy cleanse his soul imprint. Then, I would have refined him into a puppet and thrown him into Tianhuang City to be used in battle. But Sovereign Wu Ling was killed by us together. If I did that, it would be the same as setting you up for injustice. So, after we deal with him, let him stay in 9-domain world as a guard, Night Sorrow said. Thank you. Mo Tianji nodded. She knew that Night Sorrow had considered everything that he could for her. Stop being so pretentious. Let's dig, Night Sorrow said as he dug. Life without passion is lacking friends. If you want to live happily, then you have to meet the right person at the right time. Mo Tianji also started digging. Night Sorrow did not reply. He had heard of this before. He remembered that it was a bridge between a man and a woman. Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji dug very quickly. They dug out a hole in a short while. Feeling that it was dark, Mo Tianji took out a spirit stone and pinned it in her hair. That way there would be light. I've never done this before, Mo Tianji muttered as she dug behind Night Sorrow. After digging for a quarter of an hour, they saw spirit stones. They were all top-grade Saint Spirit stones. There are top-grade Saint Spirit stones at the edge, and there are Monarch Spirit stones and Emperor Spirit stones in the middle. Sovereign Wu Ling did not dig. Night Sorrow said excitedly. Mo Tianji shook her head. This is his territory. Why would he need to dig? Also, collecting spirit stones is harmful to the origin of the world. Heaven Wasteland Domain's lack of resources and spirit chi was due to the large amount of spirit stone mines. 9-domain world must not do this. You are the domain lord. You have absolute control. This matter must be controlled. I will. Later, I will give the order. The spirit stone mines of 9-domain world will all be managed by the Commander-in-Chief's residence. If you want resources, go to other dimensions and other worlds to dig. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Mo Tianji's words made sense. With a domain lord and a powerful ruler, the future of 9-domain world will be different from Heaven Wasteland Domain and Celestial Realm. The future is very good. What is blocking us now is the God-destroying tribulation. We can only talk about this after we pass it. Thinking of the future, Mo Tianji thought of the God-destroying tribulation. It was a mountain that blocked everyone's path. It was an insurmountable mountain that could not be ignored. Tianji, didn't your Demon Wing clan almost pass the God-destroying tribulation? Don't you have anything to learn? Night Sorrow asked as he dug. What's the use of knowing you can't do it? The God-destroying tribulation has high requirements for both the body and the soul. Your master, Yan Wushuang, encountered the tribulation. After his body was destroyed, the human emperor's seal protected his soul. What does this mean? It means that his body is not strong enough. The previous Demon Wing clan's demon ancestor was talented. His body was strong, but his soul was weak. In the end, his soul was destroyed. Mo Tianji told him what she knew. After hearing Mo Tianji's words, Yi Shang understood. The God Annihilation Tribulation tested both the soul and the body. Any flaw would result in the annihilation of the tribulation. Night Sorrow, you have high potential now. Maybe you have a chance. Work hard, Mo Tianji said as she dug. Night Sorrow did not say anything. Whether it was for himself, his family, or his friends, he had to work hard. As Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji dug, they saw supreme grade Saint Spirit stones. After digging another 20 feet, Lord Spirit stones appeared. Yi Shang dug at the front while Mo Tianji dug at the back and collected the spirit stones at the same time. We've earned big this time. Lord Spirit stones. I've never seen one before. Night Sorrow said emotionally. You say it as if I've seen one before. I've never seen one in the Heaven Wasteland Domain. After I was born, the Celestial Realm was in its last reincarnation. There were no high-grade spirit stones. Where could I see one? Mo Tianji said as she dug. Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji became miners and started digging in the Lingyuan sinkhole. The battle at Black Spirit Palace was also coming to an end. Only a few people were still being chased. Chapter 2163. Alliance Master is too mean. We've only fought a few rounds, we haven't even had our fill yet. Pu Luo muttered. In this apocalyptic war, Night Sorrow's men only fought 2 battles. They fought the Meteor Corps and Fire Dance Corps, and it was a one-sided massacre. After muttering, Pu Luo arranged for people to clean up the battlefield. Black Spirit Palace was Black Spirit Supremacy's lair, so there were some good spoils of war that needed to be collected. Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji were at the bottom of the sinkhole, constantly digging for high-level spirit stones. Heavenly G, we've earned a lot this time. I thought there would be high-level spirit stones, but I didn't expect there to be so many of such high quality. It'll be great if a few more of these apocalyptic tribulations come. Night Sorrow was very excited. You're quite ambitious. Finding a high-level spirit stone vein already shows your heaven-defying luck. How many more do you plan on finding? How many more apocalyptic tribulations? If a tyrannical soul fusion world comes, then cry. Mo Tianji looked at Night Sorrow with disdain. Some things need to be thought about. Only by thinking about it can you do something. If you don't even think about it, then I don't know how to describe it. Night Sorrow didn't agree with Mo Tianji's words. Thinking about it? You're right. Mo Tianji smiled and thought about it deeply. She felt that Night Sorrow was right. Night Sorrow and Mo Tianji dug in the sinkhole for half a day and dug out all the spirit stones. This was a tribulation world, and the source was destroyed. The 2 of them didn't need to cherish it, so they directly dug it out. After cleaning up, the 2 left the sinkhole and the spirit abyss. Outside the spirit abyss, Night Sorrow patted his robes. Digging for spirit stones was also hard work. Mo Tianji also combed her hair. After being tossed around in the sinkhole for half a day, her hair was a bit messy. After the 2 cleaned up, Night Sorrow brewed a pot of tea. Heavenly G, it's been hard on you this time. You treat me as a friend, so there's no need to be so polite. Mo Tianji laughed. She was truly grateful to Night Sorrow. It was not because of anything else but Night Sorrow's respect. No matter who it was in front of, Night Sorrow deliberately maintained his dignity towards her. All right, then I won't stand on ceremony. Night Sorrow smiled. That's right. After Mo Tianji finished speaking, she took out their gains, including the storage ring they had taken from Black Spirit Sovereign. There was a mountain of spirit stones in front of them. The 2 of them dug into the pit and gained a lot. That's a lot. You take it first. The rest is mine. I can finally replenish my resources. Night Sorrow's eyes lit up when he saw the spirit stones. What surprised Night Sorrow was that Mo Tianji had only taken a little. It was not even a 10th. Do you think I'm taking too little? At my current level, I mainly need to comprehend the realm. As for you, you need to support the development of the 9-domain world. The consumption of resources is relatively large. I'll just take a little. It's enough for me to get some luck from this battle. Mo Tianji looked at Night Sorrow and said, she knew that if she did not explain, Night Sorrow would not let it go. Take a little more. You still need high-grade spirit stones. Night Sorrow shook his head. I just took a monarch spirit stone. All right, we're friends. There's no need to be polite between friends. Just take it. If I need more, I'll look for you. When I took your Ash God stone, I wasn't polite either. Mo Tianji explained. That's fine too. Night Sorrow nodded. He sorted the spirit stones and put them away. After putting away the spirit stones, Night Sorrow confirmed how much he had gained this time. Aside from the Saint Spirit Stones and Extreme Grade Saint Spirit Stones, there were more than 200,000 Monarch Spirit Stones and close to 10,000 Emperor Spirit Stones. There were also more than 100 Spirit Stones that surpassed Emperor Spirit Stones. If they had to be categorized, they would be Emperor Spirit Stones. Night Sorrow, don't take Sovereign Black Spirit's crystal core. After the 9-domain world's origin energy erases all the imprints in his body, the puppet refined will be very strong. Give him this saber too. Mo Tianji took out Sovereign Black Spirit's corpse and weapon and handed it to Night Sorrow. If that's the case, you'll be a laborer in this battle. It's not suitable. Night Sorrow frowned as he looked at Mo Tianji. Resources aren't important to me. What's important is that I've gained luck after changing my identity. I've gained the approval of the heavenly Tao. Also, I've confirmed that our friendship is deep enough. Isn't that enough? Mo Tianji smiled. Knight Sorrow thought about it and didn't say anything else. He felt that formality wasn't important. If Mo Tianji needed any help in the future, he would do his best to support her. After dealing with the resource issue, Knight Sorrow and Mo Tianji flew back to the encampment. They both knew that the tribulation world was about to become a barren world. It wouldn't be long before it turned into ashes. Its existence was just a tribulation of the celestial realm. Once the tribulation was over, it shouldn't exist anymore. When Knight Sorrow and Mo Tianji arrived near the encampment, Mo Tianji entered the Origin Enlightened Treasure Pavilion and let Knight Sorrow fly with it. She didn't want to see other people if she didn't have to. Pu Luo and Long Jin had already returned with their men. When they dealt with the Black Spirit Palace's men, Knight Sorrow and Mo Tianji had killed Black Spirit supremacy at the same time. When Knight Sorrow and Mo Tianji were digging for spirit stones, they cleaned up the battlefield and returned to the encampment. Alliance Master, the Black Spirit Palace's men have been eliminated, Pu Luo reported to Knight Sorrow. Very good. Everyone has worked hard. My side is also very smooth. Black Spirit supremacy has been eliminated. Pu Luo, you take the 2 armies to the spatial passage and work with the 7 elders to completely eliminate the Black Iron Legion. Clean up the remaining ones as well. Misty, Great Demon King, Long Jin, you take the 1st army and the God-slaying team to walk around this world. If you encounter any Tribulation Realm warriors, kill them and try your luck. Pu Luo, after you're done, take some people to explore this world. If there's any danger, crush my communication crystal. I'll be cultivating in this encampment for the time being, Knight Sorrow instructed. After listening to Knight Sorrow's arrangements, Pu Luo and the others set off with their teams. It could be said that the outcome of the Tribulation Realm had been decided. All that was left was to wrap things up. Everyone dismantled their tents and left, leaving only Knight Sorrow behind. Mo Tianji appeared soon after. Knight Sorrow also told her to return to the 9 Regions world because she needed to use this time to nurture her doppelganger. Then be careful. This is my soul crystal. If you need help, crush it and I'll rush over. With your medallion, the guards of the teleportation formations won't stop me. Mo Tianji took out a soul crystal and handed it to Knight Sorrow. After sending Mo Tianji away, Knight Sorrow took out the clear sky godly pagoda and began to cultivate. After every battle, he would learn from the strengths of others to strengthen himself. At this time, in the heavenly wasteland city, in the Grand Elder's small space world, Emperor Tang reported the situation of the Tribulation Realm to the Grand Elder. Chapter 2164. After the apocalypse came, it was Patriarch Yi who made the arrangements. In addition, Patriarch Yi led his subordinates to destroy the Meteor Core and Fire Dance Core of the enemy's 3 major core without falling. The Azure Dragons, Ice Phoenixes, and Azure Rocks guarded the spatial passage and fought against the Black Iron Legion. There were some casualties, Emperor Tang said. After Knight Sorrow made his debut, he led his team to conquer the world. He has never been defeated, and he always defeated the strong as the weak. In the field of commanding, he is a great talent and has the temperament of a king. I can't compare to him in this field. It's his charisma. The Grand Elder sighed. He put himself in Knight Sorrow's shoes and realized that he couldn't do it as well. His charisma is very strong. During the battle, he charged at the front and killed the commander of the Meteor Legion. More than half of the Legion leaders died at his hands. In the end, they were destroyed by his subordinates in the form of formations. After the commander and Legion leaders of the Fire Dance Legion were subdued, they lost their combat power and were easily destroyed by formations. In addition, Wu Lingzuan, who had Tribulation 8 Emperor's cultivation in the Spirit Abyss, may have been killed as well. Otherwise, he wouldn't have obtained the world's origin and destroyed it in the celestial realm. Emperor Tang said. He understood the situation from Pu Luo. Everyone has their own secrets and trump cards. Don't try to pry. It will make people dislike you. He doesn't need to prove his ability and strength to others. And he doesn't need to prove it to anyone. It's enough that he won. When they return, we must celebrate. Little guy, we can't look at him as a little guy anymore. He's a powerhouse who controls the celestial realm. Even if we old guys aren't here, it won't be a problem for him to command the 100-race alliance in the celestial realm. The Grand Elder smiled. He was very pleased that the 100-race alliance in the celestial realm had a successor. Emperor Tang also nodded. The Grand Elder was telling the truth. Night Sorrow's strength and connections were now enough. The most difficult to mobilize divine beast clans were willing to give Night Sorrow face. It was rare that all the divine beast clans were willing to give face to him. One had to know that in the past, the dragon race was not very obedient to orders. The black dragon race was at odds with the 100 races of the heaven realm. The green dragon race lived their own lives. If they wanted to listen to the orders of the elders, they would. If they didn't want to, they would pretend that they didn't know anything. The green rock race was also very arrogant, but when Yi Shang needed them, they were very active. The Grand Elder and Emperor Tang talked for a while. He planned to announce that he would no longer be in charge of the elders after the matters in the world of tribulations were completely over and everyone returned. He planned to let the Great Demon King and Lin Piamiao take over. However, the elders would be under the control of the City Master's office. This arrangement was made because the young people of the 100 races in the celestial realm were rising. In addition, he had successfully reached the tribulation of 9 emperors and was going into seclusion to break through to the soul unification stage. He had to work hard for the final battle. When Emperor Tang heard that the Grand Elder was going to abdicate, he was worried because the Great Demon King had a bad temper. If he took over the position of Grand Elder, he could easily cause a big incident. However, when he heard that the elders would be under the control of the City Master's office, he was relieved. The elders being under the control of the City Master's office was a pattern in times of war. It was almost the same pattern in the last era of every reincarnation. Who was in charge of the City Master's office now? It was Tran Hung. If not Tran Hung, who was in charge? Of course, it was Night Sorrow, the son of the City Master. In addition, Night Sorrow was also the elder in charge of the elders' law enforcement. Everyone was familiar with this. There was another point. When the Grand Elder and Lu Qi abdicated, the 2 people who took over were also from the Humanitarian League. Who was under the command of the Humanitarian League? It was Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow didn't know about these things. He was in the realm of calamity, cultivating and studying the power of battle techniques. He continued to cultivate the heavenly sword technique. Although he mainly cultivated the Wuji attribute, he also studied the complete heavenly sword technique. He cultivated the heavenly reincarnation spear technique and the heavenly beginning spear technique. These were both secret techniques that were used to support and fight. While cultivating the heavenly spear technique, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate the immortal body of merits. This was his specialty. There were people in the celestial realm who cultivated the body, but no one was better at it than him. Tran Hung, King Yowu, and other emperors' tribulation cultivators also cultivated the body. However, they relied on their vital qi cultivation to strengthen their bodies. They were different from Night Sorrow's basic cultivation. As he cultivated, Night Sorrow found that his body already had Taoist rhymes. His flesh and bones were all golden red crystals. The crystals were full of characters that he didn't understand. Although he didn't understand much, Night Sorrow knew that this was the result of his body's cultivation. Outside the body, the protective energy had Taoist rhyme characters. It was called the Dharma robe. Inside the body, there were Taoist rhyme characters. Night Sorrow didn't know what to call them. While he was cultivating his body, Yi Shang was also writing the Myriad Tao Tome. The Myriad Tao Tome used to have 8 levels, which could only be cultivated up to the level 8 King Realm. Now, Night Sorrow had reached the level 9. The Myriad Tao Tome was created by one of the 2 lords of heaven in the world of Samsara, a cultivator with the title of Human Sovereign. Now, Night Sorrow's achievements were much higher than his. Night Sorrow was very grateful to him because the Myriad Tao Tome had laid a solid foundation for him. It had allowed him to accumulate far more than ordinary people. Thinking of the Lord of Heaven with the title of human sovereign, Knight Sorrow pondered for a while. He knew that the title of human sovereign was okay in the world of samsara, but not in the celestial realm. If the title was too great, the human sovereign wouldn't be able to bear it. On the contrary, it would hurt his fate and lead to his death. That human sovereign had died in the Heaven Vault tribe. Knight Sorrow still had to deal with this matter. There was a cause and effect between them. He cultivated the myriad Tao Tome and owed it to the human sovereign for imparting skills to him. It was only right for him to seek justice. While Knight Sorrow was cultivating, the world of tribulation became the world of Knight Sorrow's subordinates. Knight Sorrow's subordinates separated according to their teams. They cleaned up the fish that escaped the net in the world of tribulation and looked for opportunities. The world of tribulation was at the level of a macro world. The spirit abyss was located in the core area, where there were high-level spiritual stone veins. It was normal for there to be small veins in other areas. Of course, these small veins were compared to the high-level spiritual stone veins discovered by Knight Sorrow and Mo Tianji. It should be known that only the top mines in the celestial realm could produce holy spirit stones. Near the entrance of the space tunnel, the three mythical beasts clans completely annihilated the Black Iron Army. This announced that the Doomsday Tribulation had truly passed. F. I Yong V Geo and B equals Fei X. Look at little q. After the Doomsday Tribulation passed, Lu Qi came to ask Knight Sorrow if he could open the world of tribulation for ordinary cultivators to gain experience and feel the aura of the hostile world. They could also look for opportunities while they were at it. Knight Sorrow apologized to Lu Qi because he had already made such arrangements. After his subordinates cleaned up, there should not be much left. After listening to Knight Sorrow's explanation, Lu Qi smiled and said, "This is luck and opportunity. Your subordinates fought at the forefront, so they naturally have the qualifications to obtain opportunities in advance. As for the others, whether they can obtain opportunities or not depends on fate." "That's true." Knight Sorrow nodded. Chapter 2165. There's nothing I need to hear. I'll just follow whatever instructions the elders have. Knight Sorrow smiled. That won't do. This is the Grand Elder's wish. Knight Sorrow, you're now the Elder's law enforcement elder. If the Grand Elder convenes the elders' meeting, there's no reason for you not to go. Lu Qi patted Knight Sorrow's shoulder. The Grand Elder has come out of seclusion? That means his breakthrough went smoothly. When I return, I'll congratulate the Grand Elder. Knight Sorrow was relieved after hearing Lu Qi's words. He knew that the Grand Elder had gone to attempt the tribulation of 9 emperors and was worried. The tribulation of 9 emperors was a major hurdle. It was the last stage of the emperor's tribulation. It wasn't easy to pass it. It was a test of one's past experience. He knew most 4A fastest %5E hashtag. When the time comes, I'll look for you. Lu Qi chatted with Knight Sorrow for a while before leaving. He could tell that Knight Sorrow was still in a state of cultivation. After Lu Qi left, Yishan once again immersed himself in cultivation. His current path was based on his true body's cultivation realm. His 2 avatars would study battle skills and gain insights from cultivating battle skills. His true body would also gain insights. The tribulation realm became lively. Knight Sorrow's subordinates left the tribulation realm in batches. They had found 2 mineral veins and had gained a lot. Knight Sorrow didn't leave. His original body was in Tianhuang City and he had doppelgangers in the 9 domains world. If there was anything, he could find him at any time. No one disturbed Knight Sorrow's cultivation. The other cultivators were the same. When others were cultivating, no one would disturb them unless something major happened. When Knight Sorrow's 9 domains doppelgangers were cultivating, he was also paying attention to the God-slaying squad's cultivation in the Heaven Sealing Hall. He wasn't willing to abandon any of his brothers. Currently, the God-slaying squad members who hadn't reached the Monarch realm were all in seclusion in the Heaven Sealing Hall. Only when they reached the Monarch realm could they return to the God-slaying squad. This was what they were looking forward to the most. In the God-slaying squad, everyone lived together, cultivated together, and fought together for many years. Now that they had left the squad, they felt like they had lost their faith. The cultivation conditions in the heaven-sealing Great Hall were very good. As the world evolved, the momentum of heaven and earth was very strong. It was suitable for breaking through to the Emperor Realm, and also suitable for Emperor Realm cultivators. Qingji was also cultivating inside. She was trying to break through to the Emperor Realm. Yishang noticed that Qingji's comprehension of the force of heaven and earth was not bad. She had surpassed 80%. If she worked harder, she would be able to break through to the 9th level. After asking around, Knight Sorrow learned that all his subordinates had left the world of calamities. He was relieved. He packed up his tent and returned to the heavenly desolate city with Lu Qi. The meeting of the elders was a major event. If it wasn't important, the desolate city lord, Tran Hung, wouldn't have returned. After returning to the heavenly desolate city, Knight Sorrow went to the Grand Elder's small space world to congratulate him. When he arrived, he found that the desolate city lord and King Yo Wu were both there. The three of them were chatting and drinking tea. Knight Sorrow cupped his hands in greeting and sat across from the three of them. Your merit cultivation has advanced. You're wearing a Dharma robe. Your flesh and blood are filled with Taoist rhymes. We haven't seen each other for a short time. Knight Sorrow, your progress is very gratifying. Tran Hung smiled and sized up Knight Sorrow. If there's anything I don't understand, Knight Sorrow, will consult you. Knight Sorrow said. He wouldn't use words like luck or opportunity to be modest. That would be a denial of his own efforts. You're still as polite as ever. Your current situation is generally a feature that only appears after entering the tribulation of the 7 emperors. When cultivators enter the tribulation of the 7 emperors, their precept domain will deepen and form a Dharma robe. As for the Taoist rhymes cultivated by the body, it's called the Taoist physique. Some cultivators in the tribulation of the 7 emperors can't cultivate it. Only those with talent in this area can do it. Generally, only those who enter the tribulation of the 8 emperors and the tribulation of the 9 emperors can do it. You're far ahead of everyone, Tran Hung said. So this is called the Taoist physique. I didn't know it before. Knight Sorrow understood what his body was. You resolved the apocalypse tribulation beautifully. You also did well with that matter. In terms of experts, the devil-winged race is at a disadvantage compared to us. They don't have the possibility of invading. However, we still have to work hard. The Devil Imperial City is a fortress left behind by the devil-winged race's progenitor in the celestial realm. When the celestial realm enters the sub-supreme grade world, they still have a lifespan of thousands of reincarnations. If we don't resolve the Devil Imperial City, it will be a nail that can pierce into the heart of the 100 races of the celestial realm. Tran Hung said. The matter he was referring to was the matter of Emo Tianji. That's right. The Devil Imperial City is a thorn in the heart of the 100 races of the celestial realm. My current merit cultivation is roughly at the 6th rank of the Emperor Realm. Another rank and I will reach the Merit Emperor Realm. Although it's difficult, it's not completely hopeless. Knight Sorrow said. He already knew that in order to break the Devil Imperial City, one had to have the strength to survive the God-vanquishing tribulation or an Emperor rank fire of virtue. It was only in theory that an Emperor rank fire of virtue could break the Devil Imperial City. Take it slow. An epic isn't long, but it isn't short either. I was just about to say that we can accompany you for one last epic, but I realize that you are the same. There's no such thing as accompanying each other. Tran Hung said with a smile. Knight Sorrow also smiled. He had touched the forbidden energy in advance and made his lifespan the same as a 9 Emperor Tribulation cultivator. As they chatted, Tran Hung talked about some changes in the Council of Elders. The Grand Elder and Lu Qi were both planning to abdicate and go into seclusion to cultivate. In terms of the replacement, the Heavenly Desolation City Lord made some adjustments. In the past, we felt that you could lead the entire situation even if we weren't around as the young City Lord. Therefore, we felt that the Great Demon King was ambitious and was suitable for the Grand Elder's position. Sect Elder Lin had a righteous personality and was suitable for the disciplined Sect Elder. However, the situation has changed. You have to cultivate hard just like us. Therefore, there are some things that you can't do by yourself. Also, our strength has surpassed the devil-winged race. Therefore, we must be firm and steady. Under such circumstances, it's more appropriate to swap the great demon king and sect Elder Lin. One with a steady personality will control the situation while the other will be in charge of the discipline and maintain our internal stability. What do you think? Tran Hung looked at Night Sorrow and asked. City Lord, Senior Uncle, and Grand Elder, it's up to you. It's not appropriate for me to get involved in these matters, Night Sorrow said. You still don't know the situation. The Heavenly Desolation City and the Council of Elders have started a war. In the coming days, the races of the Celestial Realm will be controlled by the Heavenly Desolation City and the Divine Capital will cooperate. You are the young City Lord of 2 cities. Are you not going to get involved? The Grand Elder shook his head at Night Sorrow's attitude of wanting to stay out of the matter. Then I'll follow the arrangement. Night Sorrow realized that some of the responsibilities were already on him, so he couldn't shirk them. Chapter 2166. Night Sorrow nodded in agreement. He knew that King Yo Wu felt that it was inconvenient for him to speak because he was a law enforcement patriarch. They were both law enforcement patriarchs, so they couldn't differentiate between the two. This was for his own good. During the chat, Tran Hung asked Night Sorrow about the aftermath of the subdued people. If it wasn't dealt with properly, it would be a hidden danger. Night Sorrow knew that the City Lord and King Yo Wu were both experienced and knowledgeable. They wouldn't make any mistakes, so he told them about his plan to see if there were any flaws. It's very thorough. There are oaths in the Celestial Realm and the 9-domain world, so some hidden dangers are eliminated. Of course, after the Celestial Realm's origin left, the oaths in the Celestial Realm are much less binding. However, they're the life imprints of the 9-domain world, so they're completely under your control, the City Lord said. Night Sorrow nodded. He also knew that in a world without the origin of a world, the heavenly oath would only be punished by the heavens. Without the origin of a world, the heavenly oath would only attack. The latest DJ chapters section understands. Is that person very peaceful? King Yowu asked. She's very good. She gets along with me as a friend. She helped me kill Wu Lingzuan, Night Sorrow explained the situation. She's a strong cultivator. Since she doesn't give you any attitude, you should give her more respect, Tran Hung said with a smile. King Yowu and the Grand Elder also had the same attitude. They were all top cultivators. Apart from the fact that they were rivals, they all respected each other. After staying for a while, Night Sorrow returned to his residence. He would have a meeting tomorrow and wait for the results. After Night Sorrow left, Tran Hung and the other two were still talking. With the cultivation of the tribulation of 3 emperors, being able to protect oneself in front of a tribulation of 5 emperors is already an amazing achievement. Since ancient times, no one has dared to say that a tribulation of 3 emperors could kill a tribulation of 5 emperors, but Night Sorrow did it. Keep this momentum, and when you reach the tribulation of the 7 emperors, it will be the same as what we expected. When you reach the tribulation of the 9 emperors, you will have the power of the god annihilating tribulation. Even if you don't, your attack power will be immeasurable. With the help of the fire of virtue, maybe you can break the demon imperial city, Tran Hung said. If we can break into the demonic imperial city, then the crisis will be resolved. Even if we can't make it through the god-slaying tribulation, we will be able to rest in peace. But it is difficult for Night Sorrow. He had a great future, but because we didn't do anything, he gave up a few epochs worth of lifespan. This makes my heart ache. The Grand Elder shook his head and sighed. It is not inevitable. Night Sorrow has the origin of the world in him. His merit cultivation is deep, and his body and soul cultivation are both improving. Immortality is no longer a potential, it is a fact. Taking a step back, he has a lot of merit, and he has the Human Emperor's seal and the Dao-Da of the Human Emperor's ceremony. If he can't make it through the god-slaying tribulation, he won't necessarily die. Wushuang is an example. In terms of foundation, Wushuang and Night Sorrow cannot be compared. Tran Hung shared some of his conjectures. That is true. If he can accumulate merit to the level of a merit emperor, then his ability to protect himself will be even stronger. King Yawu said, "Let's not talk about this for now. Let's wait until Night Sorrow reaches that level. Now that he has cut off his own path of retreat, we can't let him lose his momentum." Tran Hung said, "City Lord, is there no sign of the great prophecy art?" Grand Elder pondered for a while and asked. "No. In the last epic, the great prophecy art was still effective. After entering the last epic of the celestial realm, the heavenly mysteries are in chaos, and nothing can be predicted. If I had known earlier, I would have spent some of my cultivation to look deeper." Tran Hung helplessly shook his head. Not long after Night Sorrow returned to his residence, a few elders of the Humanitarian League came. The members of the God-slaying team were also present. "League Master, you are really unkind this time. We didn't do much in the Tribulation Realm, and you are done for," Pu Luo said. "They are just those people. What can I do? However, I have some gifts for everyone." Night Sorrow smiled and took out some Monarch Spirit Stones. "These are Monarch Spirit Stones. They are high-grade goods. We also got some. Captain, did you have a big harvest?" Long Jean looked at the pile of Monarch Spirit Stones beside Night Sorrow and asked. "That's right. Take this 10,000 and divide it among yourselves. Don't use it recklessly. Every time you use it, you'll have one less piece. When you need to set up a formation, use it as the formation's core. The formation's power will increase and you can use it to save your life," Yishang reminded Long Jean and the others. Knowing that Night Sorrow still had more high-grade spirit stones, Long Jean and the others didn't stand on ceremony and took the Monarch Spirit Stones to divide. "You know about the Elders' meeting, right?" Looking at the great Demon King, Lin Piaomiao, and the others who held positions in the Elders' meeting, Night Sorrow felt that there were some things he should say in advance. "I know. It doesn't matter how you arrange it. If you go to war, we will just follow you." Pu Luo's thoughts were simpler. Great Demon King, the City Lord and the Grand Elder have changed their minds. They think that you are more suitable to be the Discipline Elder. Night Sorrow said. He didn't want the Great Demon King to have any thoughts or dissatisfaction. "Good. This suits me. I will deal with whoever has bad character. If I really care about everything, it will be very annoying. Let Elder Lin take over the position of the Grand Elder." The Great Demon King said. The City Lord, Martial Uncle King Yawu, and the Grand Elder also have the same thoughts. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew in his heart that it was best if the Great Demon King didn't have any emotions. What he needed the most now was harmony. The Human Dao Alliance is going to take over the Council of Elders. Pu Luo smiled. The Humanitarian League was really strong now. Other than Fen Tian, who held a position in the Divine Capital, the rest of the 7 elders were from the Elders' meeting. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow didn't mention that he was going to resign as the Discipline Elder. When the time came, he would just resign. After resting for a night, the guards of the Heaven Wasteland Tower notified Yishang and the others that they had arrived at the conference hall of the Heaven Wasteland Tower. This was Yishang's territory because he was the master of the Heaven Wasteland Tower. At this time, there was a big round table in the meeting hall. Many people were already seated. The City Lord was sitting in the middle of the table, while King Yawu and the Grand Elder were on both sides. There was another seat between the City Lord and King Yawu. Below King Yawu and the Grand Elder were the patriarchs of the various divine beast clans. They were also the supreme elders of the Elders' meeting. Night Sorrow arrived. The City Lord waved at Night Sorrow and asked him to sit between him and King Yawu. "You are the young City Lord of the twin cities of the Celestial Realm. You are most suitable to sit between us." After hesitating for a while, Night Sorrow sat down. Lu Qi, Pu Luo, Lin Piaomiao, the Great Demon King, Yu Zhu, and Ruisi also found a place to sit. Chapter 2167. No one said anything. Sometimes, you only need to listen to the meeting. This is the last era of this reincarnation cycle, and also the last era of the celestial realm. The war mode has begun, and the arrangements for the war will be made by the City Lord Palace. I don't want to hear any discordant voices. Tran Hung said, Everyone has heard the city lord's words. Also, I'll talk about some arrangements for the members of the Council of Elders. This is the result of the discussion between the law enforcement elder, myself, and the 2 city lords. I and the 7 elders will go into seclusion to cultivate. The Grand Elder will be replaced by Elder Lin Piaomiao, and the Discipline Elder will be replaced by the Great Demon King. After the meeting, we will officially take up our positions. The Grand Elder stood up and announced the arrangements. Everyone nodded. They recognized the abilities of Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon King. Currently, there weren't many law enforcement elders above the 3 Kings Tribulation in the Council of Elders. Night Sorrow, I'll be looking for some missing worlds later to solve the problem. You'll be in charge of the City Lord Palace. After the meeting, I'll take you to take over the Tianhuang Steel Guards. Tran Hung looked at Night Sorrow and said, By the way, seniors and elders, Night Sorrow will be in charge of some things in the City Lord Palace. I also need to cultivate, so I won't be the law enforcement elder of the Council of Elders. Night Sorrow stood up and cupped his hands at the elders. How can this be? We Azure Dragons will recognize you. Long Yixing was a little unwilling. In recent years, the Azure Dragons didn't interact much with the Council of Elders. Long Yixing didn't trust anyone. In his heart, he only felt that it was safe to trust Night Sorrow. That's right, Elder Night Sorrow. It's meaningless for you to leave the Council of Elders. Old Ancestor Green Rock said. Chief Dragons, Brother Green Rock, don't worry. Night Sorrow is the young city lord of Tianhuang City. He should be the next city lord, but I don't want him to be under too much pressure, so I'll keep the city lord's position for a while longer. There's going to be a war soon, so Night Sorrow will be in charge of the city lord's mansion's deployment, Tran Hung said. Hearing Tran Hung's words, Long Yixing and Patriarch Green Rock both sat down. Tran Hung was one of the most influential figures of the 100 Races Alliance in Celestial Realm for several eras. Apart from his powerful battle prowess, he was also a fair person. Everyone knew that. Then King Yawu also said that the Divine Capital would fully support the Heavenly Desolate City in times of war. Night Sorrow, as the young city lord of the Divine Capital, could also mobilize any forces under the Divine Capital. Does anyone have any objections? Tran Hung asked. The meeting was very simple. In fact, it was just Tran Hung and the Grand Elder announcing some things. No one said anything. The arrangement was reasonable. In addition, Tran Hung's orders were not to be questioned. Since no one had any objections, the meeting was over. Things were decided just like that. After leaving the meeting hall, Night Sorrow felt the burden on his shoulders become heavier again. Tran Hung did not really deal with the City Lord's Mansion's matters, so the City Lord's Mansion's matters would fall on him. Thinking about this, Night Sorrow strolled back to the mansion. Inside the mansion, Night Sorrow saw the people from the Humanitarian League. You guys are getting bolder now. Pu Luo's face was full of smiles. Pu Luo, Tran Hung and the Grand Elder didn't give you anything to do? Yu Zhu was puzzled. Pu Luo was young among the law enforcement elders, but his strength was recognized as one of the top. It was not right that they did not give Pu Luo anything. They asked me. I said I would help the league leader. After that, I had nothing to do. Pu Luo smiled. Lin Piaomiao and the others shook their heads helplessly. In order to avoid trouble, Pu Luo had thought of everything. While Lin Piaomiao and the others were chatting, Night Sorrow kept thinking. It was easy for him to deal with things in the 9 Zones world. The main reason was that he was from the 9 Zones world. Whether in virtue or strength, he stood at the peak. However, in the celestial realm, it was not enough. It was hard to say whether his orders would be effective or not. It was also unknown whether someone would throw a tantrum. Night Sorrow could not do things like pacify others. He also did not care about other people's feelings. While Night Sorrow was thinking, Tran Hung and King Yawu arrived. Tran Hung was followed by a man. On the Chapter 3T of the Unspecified Currency Edition, there was an subordinate Du Yueting greets the young Castellan. The man following Tran Hung bowed to Night Sorrow. Castellan, who is this? Night Sorrow helped Du Yueting up and looked at Tran Hung in confusion. He is the commander of the Tianhuang Steel Guards. The Tianhuang Steel Guards are the elites that the Castle of Gods and Devils found from all over the world. Yueding is currently in charge of them. If you need them, you can mobilize them. Later on, you can go and take a look. They are cultivating in the accelerated time at the Tianhuang Cliff. Tranhung said. Night Sorrow understands. Night Sorrow nodded. Don't feel pressured. If there is a war, just follow the strategy you used to command the war. Treat it as a realm war. In fact, it is just a bigger realm war. If there is a need, your uncle and I will listen to your orders. Tranhung looked at Night Sorrow and said. He knew that Night Sorrow was under a lot of pressure. King Yo Wu patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and told Night Sorrow that there was no need to rush things. It was true that this was the last era, but an era was 100 billion years. It was hard to say when the war would start. The 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm also had an absolute advantage. After talking with Night Sorrow for a while, Tranhung and King Yo Wu left. Then, the Grand Elder brought Emperor Tang, Qin Qianjie, and Xiao Jun to Night Sorrow. The main purpose was to communicate. Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon King had just been promoted, so there were some things that they needed to know. While the elders were talking, Night Sorrow and the Grand Elder went to the side to drink tea and talk. Next, I will take the small world to Reincarnation Island for seclusion. The small world's weapon spirit will know your aura. You can go there at any time if you need anything, the Grand Elder said. He planned to guard Reincarnation Island. Yi Shang took out a storage ring. Great Elder, there are some monarch spirit stones inside. When you reach Reincarnation Island, you can use them to reinforce the array formation. This way, even if Emo Zhantian comes, you won't be at a disadvantage. Lord Spiritual Stones. The Grand Elder smiled and accepted it. Everyone was doing this for the celestial realm. He did not need to be polite. After the Grand Elder left, Night Sorrow went to Heaven Wasteland Tower to find Tranhung and King Yo Wu. He gave each of them 10,000 Lord Spiritual Stones. Some of the formations in Heaven Wasteland City and Shen Du City were set up by the two of them. They needed to be strengthened. Looking at the storage ring, the two of them were shocked. Lord Spiritual Stones were rare. They had never seen them before. Night Sorrow, you are young. It is not easy for you to accumulate some wealth. You can't squander so easily. You have to know that the 9 regions world will be the supreme world in the future. There will be many places that need high-grade spirit stones. Also, don't dig up the high-grade spirit stones produced by the 9 regions world if you can. It will hurt the future of the 9 regions world. Tranhung reminded Night Sorrow. Chapter 2168. That's the right thing to do. If you need resources, don't dig at your doorstep. If you have the ability, go find them outside. Chen Huang nodded after hearing Yi Shang's words. He hadn't expected Yi Shang to have already made arrangements. King Yo Wu told Night Sorrow to keep an eye on him. There were many cultivators who dared to risk universal condemnation. If they couldn't keep an eye on them, they would secretly dig. Night Sorrow smiled and told Tranhung and King Yo Wu that he knew the location of the important mineral veins in the 9 Realms world. The 9 Realms origin had told him that his 9 Realms avatars had set up a grand formation there. He would know immediately if anyone touched them. Tranhung and King Yo Wu glanced at each other. They felt that they had to change the way they looked at Night Sorrow because Night Sorrow's actions were watertight. He had considered everything that could be done. Yo Wu, I suddenly feel much more relaxed. With Night Sorrow here, we don't have to worry about anything. Tranhung smiled and said, Yi Shang, after we cultivate to the soul unification stage, we only have one body. Your main body needs to cultivate, and your clone needs to take care of things when you have free time. Your senior brother is in charge of the law enforcement team, and your uncle Shiryu is in charge of the law enforcement team. If you need to mobilize them, just inform them, King Yo Wu said to Yi Shang. Martial uncle, are you also going into seclusion? Night Sorrow looked at King Yo Wu in surprise. I won't go into seclusion. I'll cultivate here. If you need anything, just send a message. King Yo Wu smiled at Night Sorrow. At this moment, Night Sorrow was like a young man who didn't want to part with his elders. When Night Sorrow left, the city lord and King Yowu also followed him out of the Wasteland Tower. After leaving the Wasteland Tower, the city lord called Night Sorrow to the side of the Grand Martial Arts Arena. This place is guarded by treasures. It can form a triangle with the Wasteland Tower to guard the city. I used to guard the Wasteland Tower. Now that you are the master of the Wasteland Tower, I will come here if there is no problem. After speaking, Tran Heng's arms shook. The aura of a group of dragons appeared around his body and even roared. Then, a 9 dragons cauldron appeared in front of Night Sorrow and the other 2. The cauldron kept expanding until it was almost as tall as the Wasteland Tower. It has 1 more dragon than your 8 dragons cauldron. In the past, this cauldron was called the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth. It was a heavenly artifact. In the 7th era of this reincarnation cycle, I was patrolling the outer realms around the celestial realm. A 9-headed demon dragon appeared and attacked the celestial realm. Later, it became the spirit of the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth, and the Cauldron of Heaven and Earth became the 9 dragons cauldron, Tran Heng explained to Night Sorrow. In the celestial realm, not many people know about the 9 dragons cauldron, but almost all the cultivators in the outer realms know about it. King Yenwu smiled. Night Sorrow understood. Tran Heng didn't fight many times in the celestial realm. He had been solving some hidden dangers in the outer realms, so he was famous in the outer realms. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow returned to his mansion. After calming down, Night Sorrow cultivated his battle skills in the mansion. At the same time, he studied the cultivation of his body and the Myriad Tao Tome. Night Sorrow felt that the Myriad Tao Tome was a tome with great potential. If it could be perfected to the Emperor's Tribulation level, it would be a lost art that could be handed down for generations. Not only did Night Sorrow continue to write the Myriad Tao's tome, but he also corrected the parts that did not make sense before the 8th level. With his current realm, he could easily find some flaws. Night Sorrow also called Yi Shaokei over and asked him to cultivate the Myriad Tao Tome from the beginning. Yi Shang had just stepped onto the path of cultivation, so it was very difficult for him to collect the resources needed to cultivate the Myriad Tao Treasure Tome. However, it was not a problem for Yi Shaokei to get the materials needed to cultivate the Myriad Tao Treasure Tome. Yi Shang was an emperor-level alchemist, so he could easily refine some pills. Originally, Yi Shaokei was very reluctant when Night Sorrow asked him to cultivate a low-level technique because he was already a king. In addition, cultivating the Myriad Tao Tome was very painful. If his father hadn't insisted and didn't want to disappoint him, Yi Shaokei wouldn't have wanted to cultivate it. However, when he cultivated to the 6th level, which was equivalent to the Qi refinement realm, he experienced the benefits of cultivating the Myriad Tao Tome. Looking at the original Yu chapter? Chapter 3 on this day, when Night Sorrow was studying the new chapter of the Myriad Tao Tome, Yi Shaokei came out of the secret cultivation room. Father, my soul power has increased a lot compared to before. The blood energy in my body has also reached the level of vital essence smoke. Yi Shaokei said excitedly when he came to Night Sorrow's side. You're still at the 6th level. We'll talk about it when you reach the undead realm. Night Sorrow looked at Yi Shaokei and said, Father, what realm have you cultivated the Myriad Tao Tome to? Yi Shaokei asked. He only knew that his father cultivated the Myriad Tao Tome, but he didn't know the details. The 9th level, the Rebirth Realm. However, the description of the reincarnation realm in the original book is wrong in many places. The rank 9 reincarnation realm is also for father to explore and cultivate. When you cultivate it, it should be correct. Yi Shang said to his son. The Myriad Tao Tome originally had 9 levels: blood refining, tendon strengthening, bones forging, unification, path seeking, spirit refining, golden body, indestructible, and rebirth. The Lord of Heaven in the world of reincarnation didn't reach the 9th level. Therefore, he only deduced the 9th level of the rebirth realm roughly. There were many parts that were wrong. Night Sorrow was also exploring and cultivating and constantly making adjustments. Father, how far can the Myriad Tao Tome be cultivated? What's the highest level of cultivation? Yi Shaokei poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow and asked. You can pass the God-destroying tribulation and reach the legendary divine Emperor realm, which is the God. Night Sorrow closed the book in his hand. Looking at the surprised Yi Shao, Night Sorrow told him the reason why he said so. To pass the God-destroying tribulation, one's body and soul must be strong. The myriad Tao Tome first strengthened one's body and soul by 30%. This was equivalent to establishing a strong foundation. After listening to Night Sorrow's explanation, Yi Shaokei understood. At the same time, there were some parts that he didn't understand. This was why Night Sorrow only taught it to him and not to his brothers and sisters. You should cultivate first. Your brothers and sisters are not as talented as you. Even your fourth brother is a little different from you. If you can't achieve anything, it will be a waste of energy. It's meaningless. We'll talk about it in the future. Night Sorrow looked at Yi Shao's expression and knew what he was thinking. Yi Shaoluo was suitable, but now that Yi Shaoluo was an emperor, it was more suitable for Yi Shaokei to cultivate. I will work hard. This is not a tome, it's a divine tome. Father's body is unparalleled in the world. I can't embarrass him. Yi Shaokei nodded. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He didn't want to hurt Yi Shaokei. Some things couldn't be replicated. Other people who cultivated the myriad Tao Tome couldn't reach his level. His current body didn't only come from the myriad Tao Tome, it also came from the power of merit. It was the result of the integration of the power of merit and the myriad Tao Tome. It was the merit immortal body. Now, it should be called the immortal merit Tao body. Night Sorrow's doppelganger cultivated battle skills and studied the book while his original body cultivated. At the same time, he familiarized himself with the Heaven Wasteland Tower and used some of its abilities to help his cultivation. Chapter 2169. The Heaven Wasteland Pagoda also had time acceleration, and its effect was even stronger than the Clear Sky Pagoda. In the space of Heaven Wasteland, time acceleration was 60 times. At the top of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, time acceleration was 40 times. In addition, its ability to absorb the energy of heaven and earth was also stronger. Night Sorrow didn't test the combat power of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. He didn't want to cause too much of a commotion. While Night Sorrow was cultivating, the Council of Elders was also exchanging positions. Lin Piaomiao took over all the matters of the Council of Elders. The Great Demon King wrote a rule of the celestial realm. It was rare that the Great Demon King was serious. After the new rule was discussed at the Council of Elders, it was announced to all parts of the celestial realm and started to be implemented. Lu Qi's original body was in seclusion, but his doppelganger was still in the Heaven Wasteland City. He still had to play the role of a link. Night Sorrow went to meet the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards, led by Du Yueting. Seeing Night Sorrow, the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards bowed. Night Sorrow didn't know them, but they knew Night Sorrow. Commander Du, do we Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards not have any combat missions? Night Sorrow asked. Young City Lord, there are combat missions but not in the celestial realm. We usually follow the City Lord's orders to clean up the extraterritorial world. We don't usually participate in the battles in the celestial realm, Du Yueting said. *first n / you are unknown. No one knows of your contributions to the celestial realm, but you are a group of people who should be respected. One day I, Night Sorrow, will clear your name and let the world know of your existence. Your efforts for the celestial realm will not be in vain. Night Sorrow looked at the group of 200 people and said, Thank you, young City Lord. Du Yueting and the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards bowed to Night Sorrow. I don't know what to say to you, but I will try my best not to disappoint you. Night Sorrow knocked on the chest of the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards. Young City Lord, you don't have to do this. We haven't fought side by side, but we know very well about Young City Lord. We are looking forward to fighting alongside Young City Lord. Du Yueting said, How are the resources of the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards distributed? Is it enough? Night Sorrow asked. Du Yueting told Night Sorrow that the resources of the Heaven Wasteland Iron Guards were provided by the City Lord's mansion. I am Luo Qing, the manager of the City Lord's residence. The group of people behind me are the enforcers and managers of the City Lord's residence. When we have nothing to do, we stay with the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards. The City Lord's residence has a lot of resources, but the resources used by the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards are all seized by themselves. An old man stood out and said, "The Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards are fighting for the celestial realm, so they must be supplied with sufficient resources. Even if it is inconvenient to use the resources of the City Lord residence, they must be satisfied. If there is a need, Director Luo and Commander Du can find me at any time," Night Sorrow said. "Thank you, young City Lord." Luo Qing and Du Yueting bowed again. "In fact, you don't need to treat me as the young City Lord. We are all brothers who will fight side by side in the future. If there is a need, you can find me." Night Sorrow was about to leave. After understanding the situation of the group, Night Sorrow was very satisfied. The Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards were full of vigor and had a strong aura, stronger than the aura of the Heaven Wasteland Army. Night Sorrow understood that this was cultivated through killing. "Young City Lord, I have a request." Du Yueting called out to Night Sorrow, who was about to leave. "Speak." Night Sorrow turned around. "Although we, the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards, do not participate in the internal war of the Celestial Realm, we know the Celestial Realm very well. We have seen the battle videos of the people under your command, especially the God-slaying squad under your command. We admire their cooperation and their ability to fight in formations. Can we cultivate?" Du Yueting asked. Night Sorrow smiled. "If you want to cultivate, of course there is no problem. Later, I will ask a few people from the God-slaying squad to come over and teach you the joint attack of formations. You don't need to be polite with me. I respect soldiers with a spirit of sacrifice, and it just so happens that you are." With that, Night Sorrow left. He intended to ask Tianyu and Long Jin to come over. The Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards were the backbone of the City Lord residence. If it could increase their battle strength, he was naturally willing to see it. After returning to the mansion, Night Sorrow made arrangements. He asked Long Jin, Tianyu, and Yi Mei to help him strengthen the battle strength of the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards. After that, he went into closed-door training to study the Myriad Tao Tome. The end of the apocalypse did not have any impact on the celestial realm, but Night Sorrow's prestige rose again. In the past, everyone knew that Yi Shang was an expert, but he was only at the middle level. However, it was different now. Yi Shang had killed 2 cultivators of the 5 Emperors' Tribulation during the Doomsday Tribulation with the Tribulation of 3 Emperors' Tribulation, proving his combat ability. It should be known that in the alliance of the 100 races of the Celestial Wasteland, it was very difficult for others to kill cultivators of the 5 Emperors' Tribulation except for the 3 giants. Even the Supreme Elders of the Council of Elders did not dare to say this. The Golden Dragon King and the Blood Kirin King had publicly said that they could defeat cultivators of the 5 Emperors' Tribulation, but it was hard to say if they could kill them. In the past, Night Sorrow's reputation was enough. Now that he had proven his strength, his influence naturally increased. After calming down, Night Sorrow entered a stable cultivation period. His original body left the Heaven Wasteland Tower and brought the Haotian Godly Pagoda to cultivate on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. His doppelganger cultivated battle skills every day, cultivated the Heavenly Spear technique, and strengthened his body. At the same time, he continued to perfect the Myriad Tao Tome. At this moment, Night Sorrow's cultivation was at the Tribulation of 3 Emperors' Tribulation, and his body cultivation was also at this level. After modifying the Myriad Tao Tome, Night Sorrow also had new ideas to strengthen himself. In the past, Night Sorrow cultivated the Myriad Tao Tome. In addition to cultivating the physical strength in his body, he also used the power of Desolates to strengthen himself. Later on, the power of Desolates became the power of time, and then the power of space-time. Now that Night Sorrow was thinking about using the forbidden attribute to strengthen his body, he was in a dilemma because he currently had 2 supreme attributes. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow decided to use the primordial attribute to replace the space-time attribute. Night Sorrow made this choice based on the consideration of compatibility. The void attribute was his earliest basic attribute, and the primordial attribute was a combination of the void attribute. Therefore, it was the most compatible with him. After making this decision, Night Sorrow's original body also started to replace the energy while cultivating his own force. He wanted to improve his body cultivation and cultivate the primordial Tao body. This way, he could use the two forbidden attributes in battle in the future, and he would not be at a disadvantage in terms of attack and defense. Night Sorrow wanted to accumulate. With the God-destroying tribulation in front of him, he had to make some preparations early. His cultivation could be improved slowly, but the quality of his cultivation had to be guaranteed during each cultivation stage. He had to ensure that there was no improvement at all and that he had to be perfect. This way, he would not have some flaws when he cultivated to the peak. It would be very regretful if he failed to pass the God-destroying tribulation. Chapter 2170. Night Sorrow had modified the myriad Daos tome. In order to repay the favor of teaching him, Night Sorrow planned to deal with the karma of that heavenly monarch. Fire Dance took Night Sorrow's token and set off. Night Sorrow was not afraid that something would happen to Fire Dance. The token he gave her contained his soul imprint. As long as it was activated, his soul energy incarnation would appear. Therefore, even if an expert had a conflict with Fire Dance, he would be able to stop them. 2 months later, Fire Dance returned and captured 2 people. Night Sorrow recognized one of them as he had seen him at Heaven's Vault Cliff. It was Heaven's High Priest. At that time, if Lin Piaomiao hadn't appeared to help him resolve the crisis, he would have been in big trouble. The other person was a half-step emperor. Realm Lord, I've investigated clearly. It was Heaven's High Priest's idea. This is the one who carried it out. That heavenly monarch from the primal chaos realm died in their hands, Fire Dance reported. Fire Dance, it's been hard on you. Take them to the world of reincarnation and deal with them. Night Sorrow waved his hand. He only wanted to deal with that karma. He didn't want to ask about other details. He also knew that Heaven's High Priest was narrow-minded and had many misdeeds. Night Sorrow, you are the human emperor. You can't kill indiscriminately. Heaven's High Priest was somewhat anxious when he heard Night Sorrow's order to kill. Can't the human emperor kill people? Don't you understand karma? All those years, you constantly killed cultivators who didn't submit to the Heaven's Vault tribe. Have you never thought of the price you have to pay? Night Sorrow turned to look at Heaven's High Priest. This is the way of development. The weak submit to the strong. This is not wrong, Heaven's High Priest explained. According to your point of view, I am the strong now. You have nothing to say, right? Night Sorrow turned to look at Heaven's High Priest. He didn't like this kind of unreasonable attitude. Even though the person wasn't strong, he still wanted to use strength to suppress others. You are the human sovereign. Your actions are a disgrace to the word human sovereign. High Priest Heaven's face changed. He could tell that Night Sorrow really wanted to kill him. You don't understand at all. Night Sorrow waved his hand at Fire Dance. Since he couldn't get through to her, he didn't want to say anything more. Fire Dance grabbed Sky High Priest and his subordinates and took the teleportation array to the world of reincarnation. Night Sorrow reached out his right hand, which was filled with the myriad Tao Tome's energy. He understood that the cause and effect of the myriad Tao Tome had been resolved. He didn't need to think about it anymore. An hour later, Fire Dance returned and informed Night Sorrow that the matter was over. After settling the matter with High Priest Heaven, Night Sorrow's 9 domain avatars returned to the heaven-sealing Great Hall. He still had to cultivate the heavenly sword art. Although the situation was still stable, Night Sorrow did not want to be weak when the war broke out. He had experienced many wars. For example, when Devil Blood Realm attacked Primal Chaos Realm, the other party was strong. At that time, he felt powerless. He didn't want such a situation to happen again. So, he had to work hard even during peacetime. Tianhuang City quieted down. Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon King's main body cultivated. His avatar slowly took over the matters of the Council of Elders from Lu Qi. Night Sorrow had a better understanding of Lu Qi's situation. Lu Qi's current cultivation realm wasn't high because he had suppressed his tribulation. According to the Grand Elder, If Lu Qi took the initiative to trigger his heavenly tribulation, he would be at the 6th Emperor Tribulation realm. So, he had to go into seclusion to break through to the high-level Emperor Tribulation realm. This was also the main reason why he stepped down from his position as Discipline Elder. If it weren't for the extraordinary period, he wouldn't have done so. On this day, after cultivating the heavenly spear art, Night Sorrow met Wufeng and Song Ning, who had come to visit Lin Piaomiao. Night Sorrow invited the two to a pavilion in the corner of the mansion for tea. Big brother, it's hard to say what's going on with the Nine Yin world. They're definitely not in the same group as us, but we can't find their exact location, Night Sorrow said. Yes, I've learned a little about the situation from my family. My second uncle asked the city lord about it. The Nine Yin world is affected by the void energy and is no longer connected to the celestial realm. Their exact location is unknown. This is also the reason why the Nine Yin clan left the celestial realm. Their communication with the outside world should be the same as the Nine Zones world, relying on the Emperor-level teleportation formation, Wu Feng said. Your enemy didn't fight last time. After Mo Zhantian joined the battle, the gentleman's battle couldn't continue. We also lost the chance to kill him. Night Sorrow poured a cup of tea for Wu Feng. Last time, he didn't kill Yin Xiaodong. Night Sorrow still felt regretful that he couldn't avenge Wu Feng. Night Sorrow, although your cultivation has skyrocketed and you're in a high position, I still see you as a brother. There's no need to be polite between us. I know what you're thinking, Wu Feng said. That's right. Cultivators change as they grow. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. It's already rare that you can drink tea with us. Song Ning looked at Night Sorrow with some emotion. Night Sorrow smiled. Boss Song, you don't have to say that. The days at the blood battle arena are still vivid in my mind. Our friendship isn't new. Don't think too much about it. Song Ning nodded. She knew Night Sorrow's character. Therefore, even though the gap between them was huge, she didn't try to distance herself from him. Besides, they were relatives. Night Sorrow's children had to call her auntie. What are you guys talking about? You guys seem to be having a good time. Lin Piaomiao walked over and sat down. Nothing much. Just talking about the past. Now that I think about it, my life in the Misty Dynasty was really difficult. Several manor lords wanted to kill me, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Since you're still alive, let's not talk about anything else. Isn't everything great now? Lin Piaomiao said with a smile. Her mature womanly charm had replaced her youthfulness in the past. In the past, she rarely interacted with others. Even when she was fighting in Tianhuang region, she only interacted with a limited number of elders. Night Sorrow, our children aren't young anymore. You taught Zhan Tan's child, Zhan. Can't you teach our children as well? Song Ning looked at Night Sorrow and brought up another topic. Sure. Don't worry. I'll send them to the Nine-Domain world. I'm afraid that I'll mislead them. After all, I have a lot of things to do. Someone with a high cultivation must be a good master, Night Sorrow said. Song Ning, don't cause trouble for Night Sorrow. We'll teach them ourselves now. When they grow up, we'll send them to the Nine-Domain world, Wu Feng said. He knew that Night Sorrow had a lot of things to do. Others might not understand Night Sorrow, but he did. After sending Wu Feng and Song Ning off, Night Sorrow was thinking about something. He planned to go to Tianhuang region and pay his respects to his master, Yan Wushuang. Although Yan Wushuang didn't teach him anything in person, the heavenly sword technique had helped him a lot. Night Sorrow's high-level forbidden attribute was all thanks to the heavenly sword technique. Chapter 2171. Looking down at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow could still see the bloody footprints he left behind. Back then, Night Sorrow was already an emperor. His emperor blood essence had not dissipated, but its color had already darkened. Thinking back to the battle back then, Night Sorrow felt a sense of accomplishment. Back then, he had killed 5 demon wing race emperors with his emperor cultivation. It had always been a story of the 100 Races Alliance in Heaven Wasteland City. The battle crystal ball had also spread throughout the celestial realm. That battle had also been hailed as a legendary battle. Reaching out to touch the blood-Qilin evil-slaying spear, Night Sorrow stepped on the bloody path he had left behind on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and headed toward Heaven Wasteland. The Heaven Wasteland army stationed on the Nirvana City Gate Tower was very surprised. They knew that Night Sorrow's original body was cultivating on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, but they really could not guess what his clone was doing. Night Sorrow's matters were not something anyone could ask about. After passing the area where his true body was cultivating, Yishang turned around to take a look. The scene of him being exiled all those years ago flashed in his mind. Things were different now. He was now an Imperial Tribulation cultivator who could fight those at a higher level than him. With a shake of his feet, Night Sorrow began to fly. Night Sorrow's rapid departure worried the commander of the Heaven Wasteland army stationed on the Nirvana City Gate Tower. It was too dangerous. After leaving the Nirvana Ocean Bridge was the Heaven Wasteland region, which was the territory of the Demon Wing race. Night Sorrow would easily be schemed against and besieged if he went alone. The commander of the Heaven Wasteland army flashed away and went to the hall on the first floor of the Heaven Wasteland Tower to report the situation to Lin Piaomiao, who was chatting with a few elders. What is this guy doing? He's the target of the Demon Wing race. Doesn't he know that? Qin Qianjie was a little anxious. Don't worry. Night Sorrow will think before he does anything. There should be a reason for him to do this. Lin Piaomiao was very calm, mainly because she believed in Night Sorrow's strength. Night Sorrow had the strength to kill a 5 Emperor Tribulation cultivator. There were not many people in the Demon Wing race who could hurt him. Flying over the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow arrived at the Heaven Desolate Mountain. He arrived at the area where he used to cultivate. Some of the teleportation arrays were still there. Night Sorrow teleported forward in the areas where the teleportation formation was not destroyed. He flew forward in the areas where the teleportation formation was destroyed. It did not take long for Night Sorrow to enter the depths of the Heavenly Desolate Mountain. Along the way, they met members of the Demon Wing clan. Night Sorrow, who was below the Emperor level, ignored them. When a rank 9 Emperor level Demon Wing clan appeared, he didn't hold back. There was no right or wrong in a race war. There was only life and death. Due to his fast speed, Night Sorrow only took half a day to reach the place where he had met Yan Wushuang. The unparalleled array had been broken. Mo Tianji and Mo Yutian had come here once. Night Sorrow repaired the unparalleled array and made a cenotaph for Yan Wushuang. There was nothing to commemorate her. Night Sorrow took out the heavenly sword art and placed a soul imprint in the cenotaph. As long as it was touched by energy, it would explode. This was also something that Night Sorrow could take out to commemorate Yan Wushuang. After that, Night Sorrow stayed in the Heaven Desolate Mountain and dealt with the members of the Demon Wing clan when he met them. Mo Zhantian, who was in the Demon Imperial City, heard the news and confirmed who was in the Heaven Desolate Mountain. However, he didn't arrange for anyone to fight. He asked the Demon Wing clan to retreat first and not go to the Heaven Desolate Mountain. He didn't know if Night Sorrow's appearance was a trap, but he couldn't take the risk. Currently, the Demon Wing clan was at a disadvantage in terms of strength. If they were to fall into a trap, the gap between them and the Demon Wing clan would be even greater. Therefore, Mo Zhantian had to be cautious. He had to wait for Mo Yutian to make a breakthrough so that the gap between them and the Heaven Desolate Mountain would be narrowed. Mo Zhantian had his own estimation of the situation in the future. Although he was eager to conquer the celestial realm, he wouldn't act rashly. There was no way around the destruction of the Heaven Desolate Mountain. However, with the Demon Imperial City, the Demon Wing clan still had a foothold in the celestial realm. Furthermore, the Demon Wing clan had already occupied 2 realms. After the destruction of the Heaven Desolate Mountain, there was still room for development. Mo Zhantian wanted stability. After a period of time, the Demon Wing clan's morale had suffered a great blow. They needed time to recover. The members of the Demon Wing clan had disappeared. In the entire Heaven Desolate Mountain, only Night Sorrow was left. He would also collect any materials for refining pills and weapons. Unlike before, if some demonic beasts didn't attack him, he wouldn't hunt them. The heavens were benevolent. Night Sorrow wouldn't kill for no reason. The assembly of elders was ready. Even the Golden Dragon King and the Heavenly Astral King had arrived. They were waiting for Night Sorrow to call for help. Since the Heaven Desolate Mountain was the territory of the Demon Wing Clan, Night Sorrow would definitely be killed if he went there. If he couldn't escape, he would definitely ask for help. #7 Everyone waited, but there was no news. 1 month, 3 months, half a year. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. There was no news. Elder Lin, it's too tiring to wait like this. Let's go to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and ask his original body if he needs our help. Does he need us to bring him back? The Golden Dragon King was a little anxious. Then let's go and ask. Lin Piaomiao was also worried. She then led a group of people to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Noticing that someone had arrived, Night Sorrow's original body floated down from the top of the clear sky pagoda. Then, he activated the array that he had set up to block the invasion of the Nirvana Tide. With a wave of his arm, he set up the tent and led the way in. The Golden Dragon King and the rest followed Night Sorrow into the tent and sat down. Young City Lord, your clone went to the Heaven Desolate Mountain. What's the situation now? Are you trapped? The Heavenly Astral King asked. No. In the first 1 or 2 months, there were still members of the Devil Wing Clan. Later on, there were no more of them. Now, there are no more Devil Wing Clan members in the entire Heaven Desolate Mountain. I have nothing to do, so I found a good place to cultivate. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, you're too daring. If Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian were to deal with you, it would be very dangerous. The Golden Dragon King looked at Night Sorrow in confusion. He felt that something was wrong. Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian didn't have a reason to let Night Sorrow roam freely in the Heaven Desolate Mountain. They should be dealing with Night Sorrow. They're worried about an ambush. I once caught a member of the Devil Wing Clan and used a soul illusion to check. They haven't seen Mo Yutian for a while. He's probably in seclusion. Mo Zhantian is alone, so he's not very confident. If he's ambushed, he'll have to run even if he doesn't die. Night Sorrow said. Occupying the Heaven Desolate Mountain alone, Pu Luo and the Great Demon King's eyes were filled with disbelief. The 100 clans of the Celestial Realm and the Devil Wing Clan had once fought to the death for the Heaven Desolate Mountain. In the end, no one could defend it. Later on, the 100 clans of the Celestial Realm felt that it wasn't worth wasting their energy on this useless mountain. They retreated to the Heaven Desolate City and relied on the city to resist the Devil Wing Clan. But now, Night Sorrow fought a few battles in the Heaven Desolate Mountain alone and drove the Devil Wing Clan away. It was simply unbelievable. Chapter 2172. I'm not stupid. I have some backup plans. It won't be easy for anyone to surround and kill me. Don't worry. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then tell us what backup plans you have. Is it safe? The Golden Dragon King asked. Night Sorrow told them about his old tactics. He had set up a teleportation array, carried an array disk with him, and had a defensive array around his habitat. Hearing Yishang's words, the group was no longer worried because Yishang was very cautious. Even if Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian went to kill him, it would be very difficult to succeed. It could even be said that they would not succeed. After sending the group off, Night Sorrow returned to the top of the Haotian Godly Pagoda to continue his cultivation. The comprehension of one's own force was the comprehension of the Tao. It was quite difficult, and there was no such thing as sudden enlightenment. It had to be done step by step, and it couldn't be done in one go. It had to be done slowly. The difference between cultivators was speed. Heavenly Star, how do you feel? That's boldness. Not only did he go to the Heaven Desolate Mountain alone, but he's done it more than once. No one in our reincarnation cycle has ever done that, the Golden Dragon King said after returning to Nirvana City's gates. I forgot to ask him. There are no members of the demon-winged race in the Heavenly Desolate Mountain. Should we occupy it? What does Elder Lin think? The Heavenly Star King looked at Lin Piaomiao and asked. Lin Piaomiao shook her head. There's no point in occupying the Desolate Mountain. There are only 2 key points in this war. First, we can break through the Magic Emperor City, which will give us a fundamental victory. Second, they can break through the defense of our desolate mountain. The small-scale battles in the other areas will only wear us out. If we occupy them, we will have to defend them, which will increase the pressure on us. It's not the right time to occupy it. Hearing Lin Piaomiao's analysis, the Heavenly Star King nodded. He knew that Lin Piaomiao was talking about the fundamental problem. There were no substantial benefits in occupying the heavenly desolate mountain. The following days were peaceful. The war stopped. Mo Yutian went into seclusion. There was no news. 10 years later, Wei came out of seclusion and successfully entered the Emperor realm. The Yi clan celebrated among themselves. Yishang only invited his senior brother and master. In addition, the members of the god-slaying team who were cultivating in the Heaven Sealing Palace also returned to the team. They had successfully entered the Great Emperor realm. This made Knight Sorrow very happy. He understood the feeling of leaving the team. He wasn't used to not being with the team for a long time. Yishang's 9-domain doppelganger guided his children and disciples in their cultivation, including Zhan Tan's son. 10 years was quite a short time for a young man who was rapidly improving. Zhan Yi, the youngest of them all, had broken through to the Saint King realm and his cultivation aptitude wasn't bad. After all, he was the descendant of an emperor. Knight Sorrow was also very satisfied with Zhan Yi's character and conduct. He was young but steady, and also a very sincere person. The reason why he observed so carefully was because Knight Sorrow noticed that Zhan Yi had a good relationship with Sikong Chiu. Knight Sorrow didn't object to such a relationship. After all, he had confirmed his relationship with Knight Sorrow when he was in his teens. Yishang didn't tell Qingji. He felt that it would be better to let nature take its course regarding the child. Knowing the root of the problem, he was at ease. Zhan Yi respected Knight Sorrow very much. He called him martial uncle. In reality, he respected him as much as his father and master. He knew what status Knight Sorrow had now and how busy he was. It wasn't easy for him to guide him. 10 years had passed in the real world, but Yishang had been deducing the Myriad Tao treasured tome for hundreds of years. After he finished deducing the 9 stages of the Myriad Tao treasured tome, he called his disciples and children over. In the past, I taught you cultivation techniques and absolute arts for qi refinement. Today, I will teach you another ancient book. It is also the absolute art that your father and master relied on to establish ourselves. You might not be very good at it, but there are always some benefits to cultivating it. What realm you can cultivate to is up to you. Find a book that suits you. If you don't understand, you can ask me. Now, copy the one that suits your attribute. Knight Sorrow placed the Myriad Tao treasured tome on the table in front of him. The Myriad Tao treasured tome was very simple, so it wasn't complete. Knight Sorrow wrote different chapters according to different attributes. The Supreme Attribute and Taboo Attribute chapters weren't in the book in front of him. The children bowed. They knew that Knight Sorrow's body was one of his trump cards. They also knew that it was impossible to cultivate to Knight Sorrow's level. Knight Sorrow was the virtuous merit emperor. He had the taboo attribute. They couldn't compare to him. However, even if they could cultivate a little, it would still increase their battle strength. While the children and disciples were cultivating, Knight Sorrow didn't stop cultivating. The children's cultivation of the Myriad Tao treasured tome wasn't very ideal. Only Yi Shaoluo was able to cultivate it. The others didn't improve quickly after reaching the spirit refinement realm. However, Zhan Yi's cultivation wasn't bad. He was slightly better than Yi Shaoluo. Knight Sorrow knew that this was because Zhan Yi's willpower was strong enough to cultivate in pain. Translator, Translation Nation Editor, Translation Nation. 2 years later, Chu Ning entered the Imperial Realm and returned to the God-slaying team. He was the Emperor of the Medicine Valley. However, Knight Sorrow knew that Chu Ning, Tang Tian, Ma Zhuang, and the others only had some feelings for the Taishan Peak. Their feelings for the Medicine Valley were the same as his. The disciples of the Taishan Peak entering the Imperial Realm was only a celebration for the Taishan Peak. This made some people in the Medicine Valley more aware of the situation. If they continued to mess around, they would be in trouble. A stable life was what Yishang needed. More than 10 years ago in the world of tribulations, He had fought against the cultivators of the 5 Emperors' tribulation, which had given him some deep insights. Not only did he have some ideas, but it also allowed his strength, which had been rapidly improving, to settle down. Tran Hung returned to Tianhuang City and went to Night Sorrow's residence to see Lin Piaomiao, the great demon king, Pueyuo, Long Jin, and the others. He found it strange that he did not see Night Sorrow. He knew that Night Sorrow was cultivating on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, but that was his original body. His doppelganger was also gone. After learning that Night Sorrow had gone to Tianhuang Mountain for 12 years, Tran Hung looked worried. This was because Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian were not easy to deal with. Not only were they good at scheming, but they also had super strong strength. In the 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm, only he and King Yewu could suppress them. Seeing that Tran Hung was worried, Lin Piaomiao explained in detail about Night Sorrow's backup plan and the current situation. Tran Hung was silent for a while, then said with a smile, "Occupying Tianhuang Mountain alone. I am impressed. Is Night Sorrow's name so scary now?" "It is very scary. Otherwise, that bastard Mo Zhantian would not have arranged for his people to leave Tianhuang Mountain. This means that he is afraid." The Golden Dragon King entered Night Sorrow's residence. Now that the Grand Elder was overseeing Samsara Island, he had returned and was currently living in Tianhuang City. Chapter 2173. Tran Hung didn't disturb Night Sorrow's main body. After deliberately restraining his aura, he passed by Night Sorrow's cultivation area. After crossing the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and entering the Heavenly Desolate Mountain, Tran Hung felt a little emotional. He had been here many times, but it was never as peaceful as it was now. In the past, when he came here, it was always accompanied by war and slaughter. But now, there was only wind blowing and swaying ancient trees. There was no killing aura. Night Sorrow's doppelganger cultivated the heavenly spear arts every day. Other than comprehending the peerless attribute, it also increased the power of the lost art. The aura of the Heavenly Desolate Mountain was different from that of the Celestial Realm. Night Sorrow also gained a lot of enlightenment. Today, after cultivating the peerless spear arts for a while, Night Sorrow discovered a figure in the area covered by his soul. It looked like Tran Hung. Night Sorrow didn't let down his guard and continued to scan with his soul power. He was worried that Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian were in disguise, which would make it easy to trick him. Feeling Night Sorrow's soul power scan, Tran Hung released his aura. He had to let Night Sorrow confirm. If Night Sorrow ran away using the transfer array, he would have to find him. This time, he had searched for nearly a month before finding the area where Night Sorrow was. It wasn't easy. Soul aura couldn't be faked. After discovering that it was really Tran Hung, Night Sorrow left the array area and stood outside to welcome Tran Hung. Seeing Night Sorrow walking out of the array with a profound aura, Tran Hung nodded with satisfaction. "Very good. You are improving every moment. I have to work hard. We're all facing the God-destroying tribulation. The City Lord, Uncle Master, and Great Sect Elder are all at the tribulation of the 9 Emperors. I'm still at the tribulation of the 3 Emperors. If I don't work hard, I won't feel at ease." Yi Shang led Emperor Chen into the array formation area and made a pot of tea at the tea table outside the tent. "I've been looking for you for a month. I originally thought that you would be at the edge of the Mount Tianhuang or at some corner, so I've been looking for you in the periphery. Who would have thought that you would be at the highest peak of the Mount Tianhuang? Are you telling me that you're here?" Chen Huang sat down and looked down at the Mount Tianhuang. "I didn't think too much about it. I just feel relaxed and happy here. It's more comfortable," Yishan said as he stretched his body. "Ha! Your way of thinking is really different from others. Staying in such a symbolic area with the meaning of war is just to relax your mind." "Impressive." Chen Huang smiled. The two drank tea and chatted casually. Then they talked about the cultivation of the forbidden attribute. Knowing that Night Sorrow had reached the peak of the middle-class emperor rank, Tran Hung was very surprised. Night Sorrow had reached the high-class emperor rank and entered the emperor tribulation. This meant that the forbidden attribute was at the peak. "Your talent is too scary. According to your aura, it won't be long before you enter the tribulation of 4 emperors. If the forbidden attribute is raised again, there will be a lot of room for growth. Tran Hung looked at Night Sorrow again and said, "My limitless attribute has reached a bottleneck again. It won't be easy to break through. After all, it's not good at it. As for my cultivation, it's increased quite well. If I continue at this pace, I'll be able to increase it by 1 rank in 3 to 5 years." Night Sorrow said, 3 #G initial K 4 square. Ha! Don't talk nonsense. You're already at the peak of the middle-class emperor rank for an attribute you're not good at. If others heard you, it would be a blow to their confidence. Tran Hung laughed and said, "I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to show off." Night Sorrow's words were stuck in his throat. Tran Hung naturally understood Night Sorrow. He knew that Night Sorrow wasn't a showy person. He also knew about Night Sorrow's situation. The geniuses of the past couldn't compare to him because Night Sorrow had the luck of 2 supreme worlds. Adding on his high perception, a flash of inspiration was equivalent to countless years of comprehension. This was something that no one could be envious of. Tran Hung wasn't in a hurry to leave. He stayed with Night Sorrow on Heaven Desolate Mountain, and the two continued to exchange their cultivation experiences. Tran Hung's cultivation experiences were of great help to Night Sorrow. After listening to Tran Hung's understanding of battle techniques, Night Sorrow had another idea. He had a new train of thought. Night Sorrow had listened to Tran Hung's train of thought. Adding on Datura's Great Death Annihilation Slash, he planned to use the primordial attribute as a foundation and follow the Great Annihilation Slash's casting method to cultivate the primordial absolute art. With this train of thought, Night Sorrow began to move. He held the Blood Kirin Evil Slaying Spear and began to cultivate. He cast the Great Death Annihilation Slash and then tried to use the Limitless attribute. Naturally, he didn't succeed at first. It was easy to use a single attribute to activate an absolute art, but it was difficult to combine attributes. Night Sorrow, what are you trying to cultivate? Tran Hung, who was watching from the side, asked. I plan to study an absolute art. It was the City Lord's violent slaughter that gave me some ideas. I plan to use the Great Death Annihilation Slash as a foundation to cultivate the Limitless Annihilation Slash. Then I will continue to upgrade it to the Primordial Annihilation Slash. The primordial attribute is based on nothingness and has a strong annihilation ability. If I use the primordial attribute to cast the Great Annihilation Slash, it should be a good absolute art. Night Sorrow spoke his thoughts. How can it be good? If you succeed, it will be an absolute art. Unfortunately, it can't be passed down as an inheritance. Tran Hung said, cultivators worked hard to study absolute arts and secret cultivation techniques. Not only did it improve their own strength, but the things they researched could also be passed down as an inheritance to future generations. However, as a cultivator of the taboo attribute, or even a cultivator of the supreme attribute, it was impossible. It was too extreme. In a supreme world, in a single reincarnation cycle, there was only one person who was born with a perfect supreme attribute. It was very, very difficult to cultivate a supreme attribute. This led to the narrowness of the inheritance. It's nothing. When I have free time, I will split the absolute arts. For example, my Reincarnation True Dragon Secret Art can be split into Destruction True Dragon Secret Art, Limitless True Dragon Secret Art, and Space True Dragon Secret Art. If I split it again, it can become Life True Dragon Secret Art, Death True Dragon Secret Art, Time True Dragon Secret Art, and Space True Dragon Secret Art. This way, most people will be able to cultivate them. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yes, in the past, there were very few absolute arts left behind by forbidden attribute cultivators, so we don't have this kind of idea. If we proceed according to your idea, it will not be an inheritance, but an orthodoxy. Very good. Tran Hung nodded at Night Sorrow. In the past, I felt that I was young, so I couldn't consider the issue of inheritance. Recently, my original body needs time to cultivate, so I pondered about this. I only have one era. If I can't pass the God-destroying tribulation, then what should be left behind should be left behind. No matter what, I have to let others know that Night Sorrow, existed. Therefore, I organized my cultivation techniques in the past for the City Lord to take a look. Night Sorrow handed a copy of the Myriad Tao tome written by this doppelganger to Tran Hung. Tran Hung took the ancient book and read it. He and Night Sorrow did not avoid suspicion. Tran Hung read the ancient book very seriously. It took him half a day to finish reading it. This was because while he was reading, he was also deducing with his own thoughts. Chapter 2174. It's easier said than done. However, I will work hard. City Lord, please take the Myriad Tao tome for reference. Don't be in a hurry to give it to me. Night Sorrow didn't take back the Myriad Tao tome. He really hoped that it would be of some help to Tran Hung. My training has already been finalized. The main mystery of the Myriad Tao tome is to lay a solid foundation, especially in the spirit refinement realm. It can strengthen the soul by 30%. This is too terrifying. However, the effect won't be that good if I practice it halfway. After I read it, I will compare it with my previous practice. Tran Hung pushed the Myriad Tao tome back to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and took back the Myriad Tao tome. I let the children practice it. I also found something wrong. The effect of strengthening the body is not bad. However, the strengthening of the soul is not as big as 30%. It seems that the Spirit Sea has been finalized by the Qi refinement realm, which limits the strengthening of the Myriad Tao tome. They should practice the Myriad Tao tome to pass the Spirit refinement realm first. Tran Hung nodded. He also confirmed this point. That's why he said that the Myriad Tao tome was the most suitable for laying the foundation. It was the practice before the Sage realm. Tran Hung didn't leave. He had already solved the problem of the foreign world. He couldn't find the problem that he couldn't solve. He also didn't have any solution. Night Sorrow was very happy that Tran Hung didn't leave. This was because he could give him a lot of pointers. With the passage of time, Night Sorrow's infinite annihilation / gradually took shape. Its might was much stronger than the death annihilation /. After all, this was a high-level fusion attribute. Very good. You have deduced it. What's the next step? Tran Hung was very happy when he saw Night Sorrow's infinite annihilation / take shape. Practice the space annihilation / then the nothingness annihilation / and finally the combination. This secret art is not easy. Night Sorrow put away the blood Kirin evil-slaying spear and said, For newest, chapter W-pu, it is not easy. However, if you think about it from another perspective, this is also a process for you to familiarize yourself with the origin attribute. Tran Hung looked at Night Sorrow and said, Yi Shang nodded. He felt that Chen Huang's way of thinking was correct. This was the embodiment of experience. He had two supreme attributes, but he didn't dare to say that he understood. There was no movement, so Yi Shang stayed in the desolate mountain. However, Chen Huang would sometimes leave for a period of time and then return. He was either investigating the situation of the devil-winged race or investigating whether there were any new outer world attributes conflicted with each other, so Night Sorrow wasted a lot of time to cultivate and deduce his unique skills. In his 4th year at the Heavenly Desolate Mountain, he only managed to figure out the space-time annihilation /. It was also at the end of this year that his sure cultivation reached 40%. Night Sorrow arrived at the Yowu Mountain. He did not disturb King Yowu and went to transcend the tribulation. King Yowu knew when the lightning tribulation was about to descend. He had been watching Yi Shang from a distance. He understood that Yi Shang didn't want to disturb him. He was very pleased because Yi Shang's cultivation speed was very fast. The tribulation of 3 emperors and tribulation of 4 emperors was a watershed. The soul would transform. Even if the soul left the body, it would have a certain survival ability and combat power. King Yowu felt that Night Sorrow would have no problem fighting a tribulation of 6 emperors. He might even be able to kill them. This was not an exaggeration. The difference between the tribulation of 3 emperors and tribulation of 4 emperors was not just one level. It was the difference between the tribulation of 5 emperors and tribulation of 6 emperors. Night Sorrow's tribulation of 3 emperors could kill a tribulation of 5 emperors. It would not be a problem for him to advance to the tribulation of 4 emperors and kill a tribulation of 6 emperors. After leaving the Yawu mountain, Night Sorrow went to the Heavenly Desolate Cliff to take a look. The Heavenly Desolate Cliff was where the Heavenly Desolate Iron Guards were stationed. The Heavenly Desolate Iron Guards cultivated in time acceleration. This was one of the reasons why they were strong. Like Night Sorrow, they cultivated in time acceleration except for fighting. Therefore, their cultivation levels were not bad. When Night Sorrow arrived, the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards were all cultivating. They were cultivating their array formations and combined attacks. Furthermore, they were very proficient. Long Jin was not here, but Tianyu was. Tianyu did not cultivate alchemy or blacksmithing. Instead, he specialized in array formation. He was already an Imperial Lord-level array master, so he was better in this aspect. When they saw Night Sorrow, the Heavenly Desolate Iron Guards bowed. Not bad. You have cultivated well. When you go on the battlefield to kill enemies, you will show your true power. Night Sorrow nodded in satisfaction. It is mainly because Long Jin and Tianyu, the 2 Imperial Preceptors, are more attentive to our cultivation. Du Yueding cupped his hands at Tianyu. Imperial Preceptors were the same as Heavenly Masters. They were honorifics for cultivators who had achieved success in alchemy, blacksmithing, and array formation. Commander Du, you are too polite. It is because everyone has worked hard. This cannot be ignored. Tianyu hurriedly waved his hands. We are all brothers, so there is no need to be polite. Everyone has done well. If you need anything, just call me at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow said. 13th brother, you have to treat me to a drink. I have been staying at the Heavenly Desolate Cliff for a while. Tianyu ran to Night Sorrow, who was about to leave. All right, Commander Du, I will leave it to you. Night Sorrow nodded at Du Yueding and left with Tianyu. After leaving the Heavenly Desolate Cliff, Night Sorrow asked Tianyu and Yi Nianxiao about their lives. 13th brother, don't worry. Apart from not having children, everything else is fine. As for children, our cultivation is high, so it will be difficult for us to have children. Not everyone is as lucky as you, 13th brother. It is the same for Long Jin and the dragon language. Tianyu said. After returning to his mansion, Night Sorrow chatted with his wives in the Heavenly Desolate City. After resting for 2 days, he returned to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge to stabilize his cultivation. On the Heavenly Desolate Mountain, Tran Hung looked at the meditating Night Sorrow with admiration. After Night Sorrow's main body had advanced, the cultivation of his clone had also advanced. Tran Hung had seen all of this. Tran Hung wasn't worried about whether Night Sorrow's cultivation could keep up at the end of this epoch. Night Sorrow had only cultivated for a little more than 1,000 years, and an epoch had 100 billion years. Even if his cultivation slowed down in the later stages, he wouldn't be stuck at Night Sorrow's level. Because there was no bottleneck in the Emperor Tribulation, it depended on the accumulation of time. Of course, depending on one's talent and comprehension, the cultivation speed would also be different. Watching Night Sorrow stabilizing his cultivation, Tran Hung sat down to meditate. Next was Night Sorrow's time to stabilize his cultivation. There was a gap between cultivation and realm, so he needed time to adapt. Night Sorrow used half a year to stabilize his cultivation. After stabilizing his realm, Night Sorrow raised his cultivation to the same level as his realm. After finishing his cultivation, Night Sorrow expressed his gratitude to Tran Hung. Tran Hung congratulated Night Sorrow. It's a bit strange. Did the Devil-Winged clan really abandon us and leave us here? Did they abandon the Heavenly Desolate Mountain? Night Sorrow stood up and looked towards the Devil Imperial City. Chapter 2175. That's true. 1 or 2 people can't form a real occupation, so they don't really care. Night Sorrow nodded. Tran Hung nodded. Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian, as the 3 greatest heavens of the Demon Wing clan, are people who take into account both strength and strategy. They understand some things very well. If they are not confident, they will not leave the Demon Imperial City. If they do not leave the demon imperial city, it is useless for us to take over their territory. Knight Sorrow knew that this situation involved a fundamental problem. As long as the demon imperial city was not broken, the foundation of the Demon Wing clan was still there. The Demon Wing clan has existed for too long. They know the way of survival. Even if Heaven Wasteland domain is really destroyed, they will not be afraid. If I'm not wrong, they have now found a way out. After occupying other domains, the Demon Wing clan can still survive. Tran Hung told Knight Sorrow his estimation. In fact, this was the situation of the Demon Wing clan now. Knight Sorrow shook his head helplessly. The Demon Wing clan is really a cancer. They are very stubborn. The main thing is that they have an unbreakable fortress. If there is no Demon Imperial City, how long can they withstand the attacks of the 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm? It will not be long before they are annihilated in the long river of history. Tran Hung narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction of the Demon Imperial City. He felt a little regretful because, even though he had cultivated to the tribulation of the 9 emperors and the unity of the spirit, there were still some things that he could not solve. The Demon Imperial City, like the God-destroying tribulation, was a shadow in his heart that could not be removed. Tran Hung had been to the Demon Imperial City and could not break it at all. The conversation reached a dead end. Knight Sorrow and Tran Hung did not talk about this topic. Knight Sorrow, be careful. I want to go outside and take a look. You have solved an apocalyptic tribulation, but in the last era of the celestial realm, anything can happen. Who knows? That foreign world may suddenly appear and turn into a tribulation of the heavenly Tao to destroy the celestial realm. Seeing that Knight Sorrow was doing well, Tran Hung planned to leave. He still had many things to do. If there are any problems, let me know. My original body is still cultivating on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Knight Sorrow did not ask him to stay. He knew that this was a special time, and Tran Hung could not stay here forever. Alright, you have to pay attention to your safety too. You have to pay attention to the development of the 9-domain world. Don't let anyone with ulterior motives sneak in. Most importantly, don't let the demon-winged clan sneak in. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome. Chen Huang warned Yichang. After Tran Hung left, Knight Sorrow began to cultivate his absolute art, the space-time destruction slash. In the Demon Imperial City, Mo Yutian appeared. He had successfully entered the tribulation of the 9 emperors. After taking a look at the body of the demon ancestor, the two of them went to a pavilion. Heaven Battling Pavilion, Mo Zhantian's residence. Yutian, passing the tribulation of the 9 emperors is a joyous matter. Next, you have to focus on cultivation. There is still a big difference between the soul unification and the tribulation of the 9 emperors. Although you have to give up your doppelganger and the chance of reincarnation, you will have an extremely strong combat strength. Mo Zhantian said to Mo Yutian, who had just come out of seclusion. Okay, how is the situation now? Mo Yutian asked. He had stopped cultivating because he was worried about the situation. Mo Zhantian shook his head and told him about Knight Sorrow's appearance in the heavenly desolate mountain, as well as his worries and arrangements. Hearing Mo Zhantian's words, Mo Yutian's face was filled with murderous intent. He hated Knight Sorrow too much because Knight Sorrow's appearance had ruined many of his plans. The demon ancestor's heavenly desolate war halberd was snatched away by Knight Sorrow. The human sovereign skeleton of the celestial realm was also brought back to the heavenly desolate city by Knight Sorrow. Both Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian knew that if Knight Sorrow had not been one step ahead, the heavenly desolate war halberd and the human sovereign skeleton would have fallen into the hands of the Demon Wings clan. Because of Knight Sorrow, the Demon Wings clan had failed to seize the Reincarnation Island. This had a profound impact on their war plans. If the Reincarnation Island had fallen into the hands of the Demon Wings clan, the Demon Wings clan would have already placed their troops in the hinterland of the celestial realm. The Gentleman's War was a tactic that Mo Zhantian had deliberately arranged to raise the morale of the Demon Wings clan. It was also because of Knight Sorrow's appearance that the Demon Wings clan's cultivators had been killed one after another. Not only had the tactic failed, but it had also helped Knight Sorrow. Most importantly, on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, if not for Night Sorrow's interference, Mo Zhantian would have brought Mo Tianji back to the Demon Imperial City. Would Mo Tianji have fallen? Kuoker 7 in the Demon Wings clan, Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian had already determined that Mo Tianji had fallen. After Mo Tianji severed the karma of the past, the Demon Wings clan's enlightening sacred ancestor had truly become a thing of the past. Therefore, Mo Tianji's statue had cracked. All of this made Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian hate Night Sorrow to the core. If they had the chance, they would kill Night Sorrow at all costs. Right now, we need stability. Besides, it's not like we don't have a chance. Our clansmen have captured a criminal from the celestial realm that was exiled to the celestial wasteland by the 100 Races Alliance. He's from the Green Rock clan. Let him carry a spatial treasure and send him back to the celestial realm. Then our chance will come, Mo Zhantian said. This is a chance. When he returns, he will definitely be watched. However, this isn't important. If he brings the spatial treasure into the celestial wasteland city or abandons it near the celestial wasteland city, we will have a chance to sneak into the celestial realm, Mo Yutian said excitedly. Yes, the time isn't ripe yet. We can't set up a teleportation array that connects the Demon Imperial City and the Celestial Realm directly. We need a fulcrum. If we can find it, we can carry out our plan without anyone knowing, Mo Zhantian said. It was difficult to find a fulcrum near the Nirvana Ocean. Reincarnation Island could do it, but it was occupied by the 100 races of the Celestial Realm. Other than the appearance of Reincarnation Island, when the chi in the Nirvana Ocean was chaotic, it was impossible to fly at any other time. Then, Zhantian, do you have any ideas? Mo Yutian asked. I have some ideas, but I still need to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. Cultivate to the soul unification stage first. The Celestial Realm's Lord of the Celestial Wasteland City and King Yowu are tough nuts to crack. You have to reach the soul unification stage first. Only then will we not be suppressed by them, Mo Zhantian said. Nodding to Mo Zhantian, Mo Yutian left. He wasn't a sloppy person. Since Mo Zhantian had a plan, what he needed to do was to work hard to raise his cultivation. After Mo Yutian left, Mo Zhantian started to think of a feasible plan. The first was the fulcrum. Currently, there were only 2 suitable places. One was the Reincarnation Island, and the other was the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Some time had passed since the appearance of Reincarnation Island. The Nirvana Ocean had stabilized, and it was difficult to approach. In other words, the Nirvana Ocean Bridge was the most suitable place to be the base of the teleportation array. Chapter 2176. Now was the last era of the Celestial Realm's last reincarnation cycle. Soon, they would enter the secondary Supreme World. The Demon-Winged clan's desire to seize it was not as strong as before. Their target was the new Supreme World, the 9-domain world. Mo Zhantian only knew about the 9-domain world from the news. He did not have the opportunity to enter. Mo Zhantian felt that once they entered the 9-domain world, the Demon-Winged clan and the Celestial Realm would have the same starting point. It would depend on who was more capable and who could gain control. As for the Realm Lord, Night Sorrow, although Mo Zhantian had suffered losses before, he did not feel that it was difficult to deal with him. In his impression, Night Sorrow was still in the early stage of the Emperor Tribulation. His level was still very low. As long as he had the chance, he could easily crush him to death. After pondering for a while, Mo Zhantian sent someone to bring Heaven's Horizon over. He then asked about the specific situation. He had to make some arrangements now. Heaven's Horizon had been occupied by a male member of the Demon-Winged clan until Mo Zhantian ordered him to take care of him. His life had become better. I already know about the situation you mentioned. You also know about the war between the 2 clans. Now you have no choice. If I want you to live, you will live. If I want you to die, you will die. If you do your job well, this seat will give you a chance to live. No matter what happens in the future, this seat will no longer make things difficult for you. After saying that, Mo Zhantian waved his hand and sent an energy imprint into the spirit sea of the Heaven's Horizon. Lord, I am already in this state. Actually, I don't care about life or death. What I want to ask is, what benefits can you give me? Heaven's Horizon's ruthless character was once again revealed. He was afraid of death, but he knew that the demon-winged clan needed him now. You still have the qualifications to ask for benefits? Say it. Emo Zhantian smiled. Heaven's Horizon was just an ant in front of him. If he dared to talk nonsense with him at any other time, he would directly crush him to death. But now was a special time. He did not care about such details. I want a woman from the demon-winged clan to be my wife. Also, I will do something for you. In the future, you will not interfere with my life. Heaven's Horizon said. Fine. You just have to prepare to do what you need to do. If you succeed, then there will be no problems at all. If you fail, then you just have to wait for your death. Emo Zhantian waved his hand and had his men bring Heaven's Horizon away. Heaven's Cliffs didn't have a high status in the celestial realm. He only knew about the Green Rock race. He didn't know much about the secrets of the 100 races in the celestial realm. Emo Zhantian was too lazy to dig up more information. He didn't know as much as Emo Lu and the others in the celestial realm. Sir, can't you open up a space-time tunnel and send people over? Emo Lu, who had been standing at the side, asked. That won't do. The cultivation base of those who were sent over by the space-time passageway was not high enough to resolve the fundamental problem. Even if they managed to sneak into the 9 Domains world, it would be difficult for them to accomplish anything. This time around, I'll head over personally, Emo Zhantian said. My lord, this is too risky. His Excellency is in the Devil Imperial City. The Devil Imperial City is safe and His Excellency is safe. His Excellency is the pillar of the Devil-Winged clan. Emo Lu's face was filled with shock because Emo Zhantian going to the celestial realm was equivalent to cutting off all means of retreat. Pillar. I'm now in the soul-uniting realm. The God-destroying tribulation is in front of me. You should know that in the past 2,000 reincarnations of our Devil-Winged clan, only one primogenitor came close to passing the God-destroying tribulation. Therefore, I can only plan for an era. In this era, I'll risk it all for the Devil-Winged clan. In the future, I'll still have to rely on the future generations, on you guys. Emo Zhantian waved his hand and dismissed Emo Lu. Emo Zhantian gave up on the reincarnation island. He planned to sneak into the Nirvana Oceanic Bridge. The 100 Races Alliance didn't pay much attention to the Nirvana Oceanic Bridge and didn't have much defense. The main defense of the 100 races in the celestial realm was the Tianhuang city. In Emo Zhantian's plan, the most crucial point was whether Heaven's Cliffs could bring the spatial treasure into the Tianhuang city. This would determine the success or failure of his plan. After making his decision, Emo Zhantian left. He had to make some arrangements and refine some treasures. There were many places in his plan that required the support of some treasures. After Tran Hung left, Night Sorrow fell into deep thought. It was mainly because of Tran Hung's words that he should pay more attention to the development of the 9-domain world. This had alerted him. The Devil-Winged clan had once sent a batch of people into the celestial realm. Therefore, there was a possibility that a second batch would enter and the attack wouldn't stop. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about the defense of the 9-domain world. Those with a higher cultivation level than him wouldn't be able to enter, and those with a lower cultivation level would be killed if they entered. As for sneaking in and setting up a teleportation array, that wasn't realistic either. Night Sorrow's 9-domain doppelganger had been watching the teleportation array area. Even if he wasn't there, the heaven-sealing Great Hall's world origin was still there. If there was a life form that could threaten the world origin, it would be alerted. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about the 9-domain world. However, Night Sorrow was worried about the defense of Xingyue City. The defense was still relatively weak. If the Emperor's Tribulation cultivators went in, they wouldn't be able to withstand it and would be massacred. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that the defense of Xingyue City should be strengthened. He couldn't split himself up. Night Sorrow's main body was cultivating, and his 9-domain doppelganger couldn't enter the celestial realm. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow didn't want to interrupt his main body's cultivation, so he could only send his doppelganger back first. After making some arrangements for the stronghold he was staying in, Yi Shang left. He had to prioritize the safety of his base. With the teleportation array, Night Sorrow left very quickly. Without the teleportation array, his flying speed was also very fast. When he arrived at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow looked around and felt that there was no problem. He then returned to Tianhuang City. Without saying goodbye, Night Sorrow took the teleportation array back to Xingyue City. After looking at the original Great Array, Night Sorrow started to draw the array diagram. He wanted to set up the strongest defensive Great Array he could. He wanted to deal with the 9 Domain Worlds portal and ensure the safety of Xingyue City to the greatest extent. The highest grade Great Array Night Sorrow had come into contact with was the unparalleled Great Array set up by Yan Wushuang. The unparalleled Great Array was extremely powerful. Low-level Emperor's Tribulation cultivators couldn't break it. It was also with the help of this Great Array that Yan Wushuang had been fighting with Mo Tianji for countless years. Night Sorrow's Array Dao cultivation wasn't any weaker than Yan Wushuang's. He had mastered the unparalleled Great Array, and he also had his own understanding of Array Dao. Drawing the array diagram was a troublesome matter. Night Sorrow had to constantly modify and perfect it. Qing Emperor, Tang Jianfeng, and the others didn't disturb Night Sorrow. After modifying and perfecting it bit by bit, it took Night Sorrow half a month to finish drawing the array diagram. The array diagram was drawn according to the terrain of Xingyue Island. In terms of level, it had already surpassed the unparalleled Great Array. Looking at the hashtag on the original TN chapter? After drawing the array diagram, Night Sorrow started to set up the array. At the crucial point, Night Sorrow used the Monarch Spirit Stone. Night Sorrow felt that since Xingyue City was the portal to the 9 Domain World, it was worth it to pay a huge price. While Night Sorrow was busy, Mo Tianji was refining the required treasures in the time-accelerated treasure. He then left Devil Imperial City and went to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Chapter 2177. After traversing more than half of the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Mo Tianji felt that it was time for him to make his move. However, in order to avoid risks, he continued to explore. When he discovered Night Sorrow's true body, Mo Tianji's murderous intent surged. He really wanted to rush over and kill Night Sorrow, but he couldn't do that. He had to bear with it for the sake of the bigger picture. After retreating some distance, Mo Tianji took out an awl. With a wave of his arm, he shot the awl into the depths of the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. His body followed closely behind and entered the Nirvana Ocean Bridge as well. After reaching the depths of the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Mo Tianji controlled the pendant-shaped treasure to expand and slowly squeeze it upwards and downwards. As the awl's head was pushed upwards, a space was formed below. Mo Tianji used his energy hand and pressed it in all directions, squeezing the walls of the space and making the space barrier sturdy. After an hour, a separate space was formed under the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Seeing that the space was big enough, Mo Tianji set up a formation. This formation didn't affect the flow of energy and only had the effect of strengthening it. After the space was stabilized, Mo Tianji set up a teleportation array. The teleportation array was inlaid with an imperial-grade teleportation crystal. It was a treasure of the Demon-Winged clan. There were only 2 of them in the entire clan. One was used to connect the Demon Imperial City to Tianhuang, while the other was used to connect the Demon Imperial City to the Celestial Realm. After the teleportation crystal lit up, Mo Tianji knew that the teleportation array was working. He then inserted a spare teleportation crystal to connect to the Celestial Realm's teleportation array. After checking again to make sure there were no mistakes, Mo Tianji took the teleportation array and returned to the Demon Imperial City. It was done. After Mo Tianji returned to the Demon Imperial City, he knew that the teleportation array was successful. He also understood that simple meant high risk. During the teleportation, there would be energy fluctuations. If a cultivator happened to pass by, they would be discovered. However, this risk was unavoidable. He couldn't go to the Reincarnation Island, so this was the only way. In addition, The teleportation array on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge could only be used a few times. When teleporting to the celestial realm, the space-time tunnel would appear in the Tianhuang city. It would be easy to be discovered. Once discovered, the teleportation array on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge could be easily dug out. Once. What should I do if it's just once? Do I have to use a spatial treasure to bring everyone there? Mo Zhantian was in a dilemma. He had to make a plan if he was discovered to teleport once. After coming up with a plan, Mo Zhantian began to implement it. He called for Heaven's Cliffs again. The plan is about to be carried out. All you need to do is bring this spatial treasure across the heavenly desolate city and into the heavenly realm. No matter where it is, your mission will be completed. Your request will also be granted. If you fail, then die. Mo Zhantian's eyes flashed with killing intent as he spoke. Heaven's horizon bowed. He knew that this was the time for him to risk his life. If he succeeded, then he would live. If he failed, then he would have to accept his fate. Mo Lu, go gather the younger generation of our 100 Kings tribe. This time I will bring them to the celestial realm. If we can enter the 9 regions world, it will be a long battle. After this era, I can't say what will happen. The future will be a matter for the younger generation. Mo Zhantian made the arrangements. Mo Lu nodded and went to make the arrangements. He knew that Mo Zhantian was prepared to cut off all means of retreat and carry out a big plan. If he succeeded, the Devil-Winged clan would welcome a new era. If he failed, the consequences would be disastrous. Mo Lu also understood that the Devil-Winged clan had to make a move. If they didn't change, the situation would become more and more passive. The cultivation environment and conditions of the Supreme World and the Sub-Supreme World were completely different. This was also the reason why the Demon Wing clan started the war. In the past 1,000 reincarnations, the Demon Wing clan wasn't left behind by the 100 races in the Celestial Realm because the Demon Imperial City had taken root in the Celestial Realm and occupied Tianhuang. The development environment of the Demon Wing clan and the Celestial Realm was the same. However, it was different after an era. The 100 races in the Celestial Realm could develop in the new Supreme World. The Demon Wing clan, who only developed in the Sub-Supreme World, couldn't compare. There was no longer any possibility of victory. Night Sorrow's original body was cultivating. His doppelganger was in Xingyue City. This time he paid a huge price. Night Sorrow wanted to use this place as the 3rd layer of the Celestial Realm for defense. He wanted to increase the defensive strength to the same level as Tianhuang City and Shendu City. Qing Emperor, Tang Jianfeng, Lord of Heaven Shenhu and the others all felt the changes. The Origin Dao Lord of Heaven, or rather, the Origin Dao Emperor, was also in Xingyue City. He went to the Origin Dao Heavenly Inheritance Earth Origin Dao Island. However, the leader of the Origin Dao Island, Emperor Han Yang, didn't think much of him. Instead, he kept asking about the situation of the world of reincarnation and the amount of resources. This made him feel that they weren't the same kind of people. Therefore, he found a suitable place for cultivation. He raised his cultivation to the 9th level and returned to Xingyue City. The departure of the Yuan Dao Emperor made Emperor Han Yang very puzzled. How could a cultivator from the lower worlds be so unyielding? At the same time, he was a little angry because this was not giving him face. When the people he sent out reported the results of the investigation to him, Emperor Han Yang's face turned ugly. It could be said that it was very interesting. Translator, Timothy_editor, Globeglotter. Why? Because the Origin Dao Emperor came from the Primal Chaos Realm and Night Sorrow was the domain lord of the Primal Chaos Realm. What did this mean? This meant that the Origin Dao Emperor was someone Night Sorrow was familiar with. Emperor Han Yang smiled bitterly. He knew that he had unintentionally missed out on a lot of things. Although it was true that the Origin Dao Island wanted to develop and look for resources in the Primal Chaos Realm, he was blind to look for resources in the Primal Chaos Realm that Night Sorrow belonged to. Besides, he also knew that his actions had made the Origin Dao Emperor lose his sense of belonging. While setting up the large array to rest, the Origin Dao Emperor went to Night Sorrow's side and brewed a pot of tea for Night Sorrow. Origin Dao Emperor, Didn't you return to the primal chaos realm? Little Luo and the rest are cultivating in the 9-domain city, Night Sorrow said after sitting down. Domain Lord, I plan to change my title. I don't want the 2 words Origin Dao anymore, the Origin Dao Emperor said. Why? Night Sorrow asked, puzzled. The Origin Dao Heavenly of the world of reincarnation will no longer have anything to do with the Origin Dao Island of the celestial realm. The Origin Dao Emperor sighed. After being stunned for a moment, Night Sorrow asked. He knew that something must have happened. The Origin Dao Emperor did not hide anything from Night Sorrow and told him everything that had happened. We don't have to share anything with each other. Since we're not on the same side, then forget it. There's nothing to worry about. It's good to change your title. They need resources, so we don't blame them. But please don't have any ideas about our primal chaos region. If they cause trouble for you, you can come and find me, said Yishang. Chapter 2178. He probably investigated me and the situation in the primal chaos realm and found out about our relationship. That's why he came to see you. I really looked down on him, said the Yuan Dao Emperor. Night Sorrow smiled. Then forget it. There's no need to see him. We don't make things difficult for anyone, but we don't make friends with everyone. Ghost Monkey, go back and tell him that you didn't find me. Ghost Monkey bowed to Night Sorrow and left the Star Moon City. The Yuan Dao Emperor asked about Night Sorrow's title. He hoped that Night Sorrow would help him choose a suitable title. There's no need to maintain the relationship between the Yuan Dao Celestial Realm and the Yuan Dao Island. That's a new force. You'll be the first generation. How about you call yourself the Primal Emperor? Night Sorrow thought for a while and suggested a new title. The Yuan Dao Emperor stood up and cupped his fists to Night Sorrow. Thank you, Domain Lord, for the title. I'll accept the title of Primal Emperor. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that the Primal Emperor had resolved a problem. The Primal Emperor might be able to tolerate being looked down on, but he definitely wouldn't tolerate his hometown being targeted. Night Sorrow could understand because he was the same kind of person. Emperor Han Yang, who was waiting in the Night Moon Manor, shook his head helplessly after hearing Ghost Monkey's reply. He knew that the Yuan Dao Emperor's line was broken. He couldn't use this line to connect with Night Sorrow and the 9-domain world. Emperor Han Yang felt that it was a pity. The 9-domain world was a supreme world. It was already public knowledge in the celestial realm. If he could connect with it, there would be room for development. Who knew that the primal chaos realm and the 9-domain world were the same force? Can you blame me for being blind? After leaving the Night Moon Manor, Emperor Han Yang scolded himself and sighed. He still had some worries in his heart. It was fine if he couldn't connect with the Primal Emperor, but if he attracted the hostility of the primal chaos realm, he would be done for. Version 3E was released. Night Sorrow was constantly perfecting the array. He still planned to go to the Heaven Desolate Mountain to play. He already treated the peak of the Heaven Desolate Mountain as his territory. Monarch Yuanchu had studied Array Dao, but his level was too low. His cultivation base was too low, and his soul power was insufficient. This resulted in him being unable to set up many Array Dao. When Night Sorrow was setting up the Array Dao, Monarch Yuanchu watched from the side. Because it was a composite array formation, Night Sorrow would also explain some of the principles of array formation when setting up a single array formation. If he couldn't understand it, the Yuanchu Emperor would record it down. This was the truth of the formation path. In the future, it would bring him different insights in the cultivation of the formation path. Qing Emperor, Heavenly Monarch Shen Hu, Tang Jianfeng, and the others often came to look for Night Sorrow to drink. They also asked for guidance on some difficult cultivation problems. Night Sorrow was not stingy with his guidance at all. He hoped that the primal chaos realm would rise again. Night Sorrow took a sip of wine and said, Uncle Tang, Heavenly Monarch Shen Hu, when you have nothing to do, you can go out and walk around the celestial realm. You have been stuck at the Heavenly Monarch realm for many years. In the past, the primal chaos realm was restricted by the Heavenly Dao's rules and couldn't become great emperors. Now that the rules are no longer there, you have to find your own opportunities and walk your own path. Tang Jianfeng smiled and said, "The celestial realm is more stable now. It's not a problem for us to go out and walk around. In the past, the celestial realm was so chaotic. If we went out, we would easily be captured and forced to do manual labor. There are very few such vicious forces nowadays. Don't go causing trouble. If there's any trouble, just back off. If there's any danger, just report that I'm from the primal chaos realm and my name. That way, you shouldn't be in too much danger," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Heavenly Monarch Shen Hu said, "The name of the realm lord should be able to avoid some danger. The main thing is that we don't meet those who don't care about anything and directly kill us to silence us." Heavenly Monarch Shen Hu said, "Shen Hu, this kind of thing almost never happens. Everyone has a doppelganger. If you kill the original body, the news will still be leaked. Moreover, with the existence of divination, people usually don't kill people to silence them." Qing Emperor said with a smile, "Yes, to be able to suppress you, it must be a cultivator above the 9th level. Cultivators above the 9th level have all been through a lot. They won't bring death to themselves just to kill people they don't have any enmity with." Night Sorrow said with a smile. Heavenly Monarch Shen Hu, Tang Jianfeng, and the others nodded. They all understood. After drinking, Night Sorrow watched Heavenly Monarch Shen Hu, Tang Jianfeng, and the others leave and shook his head. "Night Sorrow, do you feel that something is wrong?" Qing Emperor asked. Night Sorrow looked at Qing Emperor and Heavenly Monarch Yuan Chu and said, "A cultivator must have a fearless heart. But if you are afraid, it will not be good for your state of mind. Thus, because everyone is living too comfortably, they have lost their drive to improve. Later on, we have to gather together to discuss this." Qing Emperor sighed. Some things only needed to be pointed out by others and everyone would understand. In fact, some people in the Chaos Realm were living too comfortably. They had lost their drive to be brave. This was what Night Sorrow wanted to say but couldn't. But now, Qing Emperor said it out loud. They didn't bring this topic up again. Yi Shang drank half a jar of wine and continued to set up the matrix. As for whether everyone would cultivate peacefully or advance bravely, everyone's choice was different. That was enough for him to say. A month later, Night Sorrow finished setting up the city defense array of Xingyue City. Then, Night Sorrow went to Night Moon Villa and told them that if anyone attacked, they were to activate the array of Night Moon Villa immediately. Then, they would retreat to Xingyue City and take out the teleportation crystals. Then Yishang rushed to Heavenly Desolate City. At this time, Heaven's Horizon appeared on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and flew towards Tianhuang City. There was a bronze hairpin in his bun. That was Emo Zhantian's spatial treasure. Emo Zhantian's plan had now officially come into contact with the Celestial Realm's 100 races. The success of his plan mainly depended on whether Heaven's Horizon could return to the Celestial Realm's 100 Races Alliance. As long as Heaven's Horizon was allowed to enter Tianhuang City and return to the Celestial Realm, his plan would succeed. When Heaven's Horizon appeared in the range of Emo Zhantian's soul power, Night Sorrow stood up from the Haotian Godly Pagoda and released his precept domain to block Heaven's Horizon. He found it strange because he had been in Tianhuang City for so long. When he flew back and forth in the Tianhuang Mountains to search for traces of the demon-winged clan, there was no news about Heaven's Horizon. "What's wrong? I was exiled. I have the ability to return. Are you still going to stop me?" Heaven's Horizon was blocked by Night Sorrow. His eyes were full of anger because the scene of Night Sorrow hitting him with the golden brick was still in his mind. It was also because he was exiled that he suffered some humiliation. "Who said you were exiled?" Night Sorrow pulled out the blood-chilling, evil-slaying spear from his back. "Back then, you abandoned me outside the gates of Nirvana City. That was the end of the grudge between us. Today, I came back because of my abilities. If you want to kill me, you have to be able to shut everyone up. You have to be morally upright." Heaven's Horizon said as he looked at the Heaven Wasteland army flying over. Chapter 2179. I was wrong in the past, but I paid the price. Everyone saw it. Killing people is just a small matter. What else do you want? Heaven's Horizon's words were sharp, but his eyes were not firm enough. He looked around, trying to find someone to speak for him. Night Sorrow stood there, and the Heaven Wasteland army stood behind him, waiting for orders. If Night Sorrow ordered to capture him, they would immediately capture Heaven's Horizon. Alliance Master Pu Luo and the Great Demon King rushed over after being notified by the guards at the gate of Nirvana City. He's back. He feels that he has paid the price. He thinks that I can't make things difficult for him, so he wants to tie me up with morality. Night Sorrow smiled. He was almost certain that there was something wrong with Heaven's Horizon. Normally, Heaven's Horizon would fly into a rage when he saw him. Alliance Master, there's something wrong with him. He must hate me, but now he doesn't even look at me. Pu Luo's soul transmitted to Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, Heaven's Horizon, you're not smart because you don't know who I am. When I do something, I don't find a reason to do it. Capture him. Night Sorrow waved his arm and gave the order. Heaven's Horizon was an imperial emperor, so how could he resist? He was directly suppressed by the Great Demon King's precept domain and knelt on the ground. Then, 2 soldiers of the Heaven Wasteland army came forward and pressed his shoulders, then took out a secret chain to tie him up. Pu Luo, there must be something wrong with him. There must be a member of the Demon Wing clan in his spatial treasure. We can't be sure how high the cultivation level of that member is, so we must first stabilize the situation. I will send someone to inform my master, Marshal Qingya, to come here. Yi Shang and Pu Luo communicated via soul transmission. Pu Luo did not say anything, nor did he respond to Night Sorrow. He stepped forward and grabbed the chain that bound Heaven's Horizon, slowly pulling him toward Heaven Wasteland City. At this time, Night Sorrow's doppelganger was already teleporting to Shindu City. If it was a personal matter, Night Sorrow would have directly taken action, but now he had to be careful. Night Sorrow put away the clear sky pagoda and chatted with Pu Luo. At the same time, the two of them were still communicating with their soul powers. The reason why he thought that there was something wrong with Heaven's Horizon was because it was unreasonable for Heaven's Horizon to stay in Infinite Wasteland for such a long time. He had slept for 700 years. What was the Heaven's Horizon doing during these 700 years? Has he been hiding in Infinite Wasteland all this time? If he has been hiding in Infinite Wasteland, why didn't he come back when the city gate was always open? The most likely possibility was that Heaven's Horizon had been captured by the Demon Wing clan. Now, he had become a spy for the Demon Wing clan and had some missions to complete. Pu Luo agreed with Night Sorrow's analysis. His idea was the same as Night Sorrow's. They would first stabilize Heaven's Horizon and wait for King Yowu to arrive. Then, they would slowly investigate what Heaven's Horizon was carrying. Night Sorrow and Pu Luo's soul powers had already locked onto Heaven's Horizon's surroundings. Night Sorrow had also informed the Great Demon King to prepare for battle at any time. After entering Infinite Wasteland City, Heaven's Horizon was much more relaxed because his mission was almost complete. As long as he threw away the hairpin on his head when no one was paying attention, his character would be finished. Night Sorrow, Pu Luo, and the Great Demon King were very calm. Heaven's Horizon was also very calm. However, Emojantian was not. His soul powers in the space treasure did not move, but the soul powers in Heaven's Horizon Spirit Sea were observing everything. He was sure that Night Sorrow and the others did not trust Heaven's Horizon. Now, they were moving forward slowly to buy time. He had to think of a way. Emojantian controlled the soul powers he left in Heaven's Horizon's Spirit Sea to vibrate. He triggered the wind energy and messed up Heaven's Horizon's hair, causing the hairpin to fall to the ground. Heaven's Horizon naturally knew all of this was Emojantian's method. He stepped hard on the hairpin and continued moving forward. Night Sorrow stopped and picked up the hairpin. Although you have a bad record, you are still a descendant of the Divine Beast clan. I don't want you to be too embarrassed. Clean up yourself later. Night Sorrow gently tossed the hairpin back into Heaven's Horizon's arms. In Night Sorrow's eyes, everything on Heaven's Horizon was within his range. If Heaven's Horizon wanted to throw something away, he would naturally throw it back to Heaven's Horizon. This small disturbance also made Night Sorrow certain that the problem was with the hairpin. It was true that the sea breeze in Infinite Wasteland City was strong, but as an emperor, how could Heaven's Horizon let the sea breeze mess up his hair? It was obvious that something was wrong with the hairpin falling. Heaven's Horizon, I won't put the blame on you, but your character is low. I won't allow you to jump around in Infinite Wasteland City. Later, I will ask someone from your Green Rock clan to come and take you away. You will completely scram and never appear in Infinite Wasteland City again. Night Sorrow clapped his hands and said after throwing the hairpin back into Heaven's Horizon's arms. Night Sorrow's words were not for Heaven's Horizon, but for the people in the hairpin's space. He wanted to calm them down. He wasn't sure who was in the space treasure. If either Mo Jiantien or Mo Yutian were there, it would be big trouble. If the cultivators of the tribulation of the 9 emperors were to attack, no one would be able to stop them. The only ones who could stop them were the 3 giants of the celestial realm. Of course, Mo Tianji of the 9 domains world could also do it, but she wouldn't fight against the demon-winged clan. Mo Jiantien, who had originally planned to attack immediately, narrowed his eyes and pondered. He didn't know if Night Sorrow's last sentence was true. If it was true, then attacking now would be equivalent to wasting a great opportunity. If Heaven's Horizon could really be taken away by the Green Rock clan, then he would be able to sneak into the celestial realm without being discovered. He would then be targeted and defended. However, Mo Jiantien felt that Night Sorrow's words weren't very trustworthy, because from the beginning to the end, Heaven's Horizon hadn't been treated well. Between believing and not believing, Mo Jiantien was conflicted. He was also conflicted about whether he should attack or not. Night Sorrow was also worried. He also knew that his opponent wouldn't necessarily believe his words, but they would definitely consider and hesitate. This hesitation was what Night Sorrow needed. His doppelganger had already arrived at the Heaven Desolate Mountain and was telling King Yowu that he would be here soon. Heaven's Horizon was very happy to hear Night Sorrow's words. He felt that things would go smoothly. As long as no one attacked him now, he would be able to wait until the Green Rock clan's people came to pick him up. At that time, his crisis would be completely resolved. Not only would there be no danger, but he could also have fun with a woman from the Demon-Winged clan. Heaven's Horizon moved forward. Pu Luo followed Night Sorrow's instructions and carried the chain that bound Heaven's Horizon to the Heaven Wasteland Tower. When they were near the tower and King Yowu arrived, then it would be time to turn hostile. Pu Luo and the Great Demon King were also very nervous. The Great Demon King waved his hand and signaled the rest of the Heaven Wasteland army to leave. He was worried that a battle between experts would hurt the innocent. Chapter 2180. With a shake of his body, Mo Jiantien appeared in front of Heaven's Horizon and stared at Night Sorrow. Drag him to the back and kill him. Night Sorrow gave the order after glancing at Heaven's Horizon, which Pu Luo had thrown to the commander of the Heaven Wasteland army. Night Sorrow, I didn't expect you to be so cautious. But so what? You're just an ant. Mo Jiantien released his soul power and found that the 3 giants of the celestial realm were not in Heaven Wasteland City, so he knew that things would go smoothly. He's an ant? Night Sorrow cultivated to the tribulation of the 4 emperors for more than 1,000 years. What was your cultivation when you were 1,000 years old? You're probably worse than an ant. You're trash. Lin Piaomiao appeared beside Night Sorrow. You'll all die later. Mo Jiantien turned around and flew toward the teleportation formation. He planned to destroy it first so that the 3 giants of the celestial realm would not be able to come to his aid in time. Descend. Night Sorrow waved his arm and the Heaven Wasteland Tower shone brightly, suppressing Mo Jiantien who was about to fly. After the light descended, Mo Jiantien's flying speed slowed down. The Heaven Wasteland Tower was the divine weapon of the 100 races of the celestial realm. It had stood in Heaven Wasteland City for countless years and was extremely powerful. Night Sorrow used the origin of the world to activate it, so Mo Jiantien's flying speed was limited. Destructive True Dragon Incantation. Night Sorrow attacked. He had to restrain Mo Jiantien at this time. If Mo Jiantien destroyed the teleportation formation, It would be difficult for his doppelganger and King Yawu to come. Kill! Pu Luo attacked Emo Zhantian directly. The Great Demon King and Lin Piaomiao also moved. This was a critical moment. Even if they died, they had to control Emo Zhantian. Emo Zhantian was shocked. He did not expect Night Sorrow to be able to control the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. He knew the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda well. It was the #1 divine tool of the 100 races in the celestial realm. Originally, it was controlled by Tran Heng, but now, it was controlled by Night Sorrow. Its power was greatly suppressed. With a muffled sound, Pu Luo was pushed back by Emo Zhantian. Pu Luo was a 4 Emperors Tribulation cultivator. Even though Emo Zhantian's strength was suppressed, he was not someone he could fight against. He was injured in one move. Yo. After repelling Pu Luo, Emo Zhantian's forward momentum was also restrained. Then he brandished his long sword towards Night Sorrow's Samsara halberd. As the weapons clashed, there was an explosion of energy. Night Sorrow was also pushed back. The negative effect of the destructive True Dragon incantation did not have any effect. Emo Zhantian's protection precept domain attacked in all directions. Night Sorrow's soul power was directly dispersed. At this time, Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon King's attacks also arrived. They were not as strong as Night Sorrow and Pu Luo, so they were directly pushed back. Emo Zhantian, you dare to come to the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda? The Golden Dragon King appeared and waved his long sword towards Emo Zhantian. Night Sorrow floated back. He separated his right and left arms that were holding the spear. Then he swung his spear downwards. A circular light circle appeared at the top of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, and then bombarded Emo Zhantian. This was the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda gathering the power of the world to attack Emo Zhantian. The Celestial Realm's origin reincarnated. Although the Celestial Realm did not have its origin, it still had the power of the world. After all, it was a supreme world, so its attack power was very violent. Emo Zhantian felt threatened. His body flashed, and he dodged the thunderous attack of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Following the explosion, a bottomless crater appeared where Emo Zhantian had been standing. After the energy dispersed, it gathered and pressed down on Emo Zhantian once more. Not good. Emo Zhantian felt that this was not good. The power of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda controlled by Night Sorrow was too strong. Not only did the attack power threaten his safety, but the continuous suppression of the energy was also causing his strength to decrease. Now, the attack power he displayed was only at the level of an 8 Emperor's Tribulation. Kill Night Sorrow first, then break the teleportation array. The energy waves on Emo Zhantian's body violently surged in all directions, forcing all the people attacking him to retreat. Then, he rushed towards Night Sorrow with rolling momentum. His speed was extremely fast. As a cultivator of the Soul Fusion realm, even if he was suppressed, his combat power was still extremely terrifying. Void Step, Space-Time Realm. Night Sorrow used the 2 ultimate skills and entered a different space to avoid Emo Zhantian's attack. When his attack missed, Emo Zhantian recalled the time when he fought with Night Sorrow's doppelganger to save Emo Tianji. Night Sorrow's movement technique and defense were outstanding. It was difficult to kill him. If this continued, the giants of the celestial realm would rush back. At that time, with the suppression of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, he would be in danger. Emo Zhantian knew that the most important thing now was to leave. Emo Zhantian's protection precept domain surged in all directions. He then slashed with his sword. He wanted to create an energy passage to leave the Heaven Wasteland city. Intercept, suppress. Night Sorrow ordered. At the same time, he continued to mobilize the energy of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda to suppress Emo Zhantian. Night Sorrow knew that this was a crisis, but it was also an opportunity. If he could stop Emo Zhantian, not only would the crisis be resolved, but it would also be an opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the Demon-Winged clan. Hearing Night Sorrow's order, the Golden Dragon King, Pu Luo, Lin Piaomiao, and the Great Demon King all moved to intercept Emo Zhantian. The Golden Dragon King and the others were repelled time and time again. This was because the suppression of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda under Night Sorrow's control was strong. Although Emo Gentian was strong, he could not kill him. At most, he could only injure him. Emo Gentian, you can't do whatever you want. You want to commit murder in the heart of the celestial realm. Perhaps this will be the beginning of your decline. Night Sorrow's body kept moving. His soul power mobilized the energy of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda to bombard Emo Gentian. Even if the attacks missed, they would not be wasted. After they gathered, they would suppress Emo Gentian. You can't do whatever you want either. Emo Gentian was shocked. Like Emo Tianji, he also collected the power of faith. He understood the virtuous monarchs and virtuous monarchs of the celestial realm. He knew what it meant to obey orders. The words of the virtuous monarchs were often the truth. It was not an exaggeration to say that their words were golden. Let's give it a try then. Night Sorrow looked at Emo Gentian's serious expression and knew that his words had a great impact on Emo Gentian. The energy kept colliding and rolling. The battle between a few Emperor Tribulation cultivators and a Soul Unification cultivator was destructive. Even the sputtering energy could kill emperors and monarchs. Fortunately, the energy of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda was restraining it, so it did not cause too much harm. I'm not going to play with you guys today. The next time we meet, I'll take your lives one by one. Demon King 9 slashes. After Emo Gentian finished speaking, he pointed the long sword in his hand to the sky. Then he slashed forward. He had used his ultimate skill. He wanted to kill his way out of the Heaven Wasteland City. This was not just his personal matter. There were many young elites of the Demon-Winged clan in his spatial treasure. He could not afford to lose them. Chapter 2181. Emo Gentian's expression changed drastically. After slashing out with his sword, he held it with both hands and roared, heart and sword as one. With a roar, Emo Gentian's body and the long sword became one. The long sword was so bright that it was almost impossible to look at it directly. Then, it shot out of the area controlled by the Wasteland Tower. Slash! Night Sorrow roared. Countless energy blades formed at the tip of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda and slashed at Emo Gentian's sword. A series of crisp sounds rang out. Several Heaven Wasteland blades slashed at Emo Gentian's sword, causing a string of blood to fall from the sky. Emo Gentian's speed had increased after using the heart and sword as one technique, but his defense had decreased. He had been injured by the Sky Desolation blade that contained the power of the Heavenly Way, the power of origin, and the power of virtue. Suppress! Night Sorrow roared again. A halo appeared on the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda once again and pressed down on Emo Gentian's sword. However, the effect was not good. Emo Gentian's heart and sword as one technique had a small surface area and was still very fast. Heavenly Spear Art. Night Sorrow used his secret technique again. He used the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda's energy to draw in the energy of heaven and earth. He used Yi Tianxin's secret technique, Heavenly Spear Art. Heaven and earth changed color. Night Sorrow used his secret technique without caring about the cost. This consumed 30% of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda's energy. With King Yowu's arrival, Night Sorrow no longer had to worry about the defense. Countless golden spear lights appeared in the sky above the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Damn it! Emo Gentian's sword of light incarnation let out an angry roar. Then, as he flew, he activated his energy to defend himself. He knew that Night Sorrow's move was too powerful. If he didn't defend himself, the consequences would be unimaginable. Night Sorrow waved his arm and guided the heavenly spear light towards Emo Gentian's heart and sword as fast as lightning. The sound of explosions rang out continuously. Emo Gentian's incarnation of the heart sword was continuously bombarded, and the light gradually weakened. At the same time, blood flowed out continuously. He had already been injured by the heavenly spear light, and his injuries were quite severe. Well done. Let's see where you can run to today. King Yowu arrived. He was furious because Emo Gentian had launched a sneak attack and bullied a junior. Night Sorrow's face was pale. That all-out attack had wasted a large amount of his soul power. However, he knew that Emo Jiantian was not feeling well either. Even if it was not a serious injury, Emo Jiantian's strength had been greatly reduced. Night Sorrow, Emo Jiantian, will definitely kill you. After Emo Jiantian received the attack, his speed increased. After the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda released its full strength attack, the restraining power on him was not much, and his speed also increased. We'll talk about it when you're alive. King Yowu chased after Emo Jiantian. His soul power had already locked onto Emo Jiantian. He wouldn't let Emo Jiantian leave just like that. Emo Jiantian's heart sword was extremely fast. Night Sorrow and the others did not chase after him because they could not catch up. Sect Elder Lin, mobilize the resources of the Elders Association and fill the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Night Sorrow ordered. At the same time, he crushed Tran Hung's soul crystal. He was worried that Emo Yutian would also attack, and he would not be able to defend himself in his current state. Those bastards of the Demon-Winged clan, what are they trying to do? Are they going all out? Pu Luo and the others came to Night Sorrow's side. In the last era, everyone will show their abilities. The Demon-Winged clan is naturally going all out, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, how many Saint Spirit stones do you need? Lin Piaomiao came to Night Sorrow's side and asked. No need, I'll think of a way myself. The Elders Association should be responsible for the resources of the Heaven Wasteland Army first. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow did not plan to use the resources of the Elders Association. The resources of the Elders Association are not a problem. In order to prepare for the war, we have a lot of resources. I'll go fill it up now. With that, Sect Elder Qin entered the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Alliance leader, don't we need to think of a way? The Great Demon King asked. We can't help in the battle between the tribulation of the 9 emperors and the cultivators of the syncretic soul realm. But don't worry, Emo Jiantian won't have an advantage in the hands of Martial Uncle King Yowu. Night Sorrow shook his head. Night Sorrow knew that Martial Uncle King Yowu's original battle strength was above Emo Jiantian's and Emo Yutian's. After the syncretic soul realm, Martial Uncle King Yowu's advantage was even more obvious. In addition, Emo Jiantian had already been injured by a full-strength attack from the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. After the battle ended, Night Sorrow's original body and doppelganger did not leave. They stayed near the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda and watched the Elders Association clean up the battlefield. The battle had blown up the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, and now it needed to be cleaned and repaired. Although we expected the Heavens Cliffs to be a spy and that there would be experts coming, the situation is still very shocking, Pu Luo said. Night Sorrow nodded. The development of the situation was a little different from what he had expected. In his expectation, he would first stabilize the opponent in the spatial treasure of the Heavens Cliffs and wait for Martial Uncle King Yowu to arrive. Then, he would use the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda to help and finish off the enemy. He did not expect Emo Jiantian to not have any wishful thinking and to fight directly, which led to some changes in the situation. But the result was still good. Emo Jiantian was injured, which created more opportunities for Martial Uncle King Yowu. Pay attention to the defense first. But with Emo Jiantian's appearance, there are still many experts of the Demon Wing clan. Night Sorrow felt that they had to stabilize the situation first. After an hour, Tran Hung came back. After listening to Night Sorrow's report, he nodded. Well done. Let me take a look at the memory crystal ball and see how much strength he has after being injured. Tran Hung flew into the air and took a crystal ball from the third pagoda. This memory crystal ball will be activated after receiving a certain amount of energy impact. After looking at the image in the memory crystal ball, Tran Hung said, Emo Jiantian's injuries are not light. The forbidden energy you used to control the sky drawing spear technique has already injured his life source, which will affect his combat strength. He escaped in the direction of the celestial realm, so he should have other plans. City Lord, do you have any ideas and arrangements? Night Sorrow asked. What do you think is appropriate? What ideas do you have? Tran Hung looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Emo Jiantian came to the celestial realm to make plans in the celestial realm. So we have to control him. We can't plant a bomb in the celestial realm. The only one left who can threaten us is Mo Yutian. In the celestial realm, only the city lord and the Grand Elder can stop him. The Grand Elder will stay at the Samsara Island and don't move for now. Summon the supreme elders of the Divine Beast clan to the Celestial Desolate City to guard against the second wave of attacks from the Demon Wing clan. If Mo Zhantian appears, there will be experts of the Divine Beast clan to hold him off. Then we can inform the Grand Elder to come back. Night Sorrow said. Chapter 2182. In the war between the Celestial Realm and the Demon-Winged clan, aside from defensive measures and so on, the main difference in power was in the realm of peak cultivators. If they could kill a 9 Emperor Tribulation cultivator, then they would be able to pull apart the advantage. Just like now, if Night Sorrow had not subdued Mo Tianji and the 3 9 Emperor Tribulation cultivators of the Demon-Winged clan attacked together, then the Celestial Realm's 100 clans would be in great danger. The 3 giants of the Celestial Realm's 100 clans would have to defend Tianhuang City. In the past, the Demon-Winged clan had launched several large-scale attacks. Before Mo Tianji and Yan Wushuang clashed, the Celestial Realm's 2 cities had 4 experts, and the Demon-Winged clan had no advantage. After Mo Tianji and Yan Wushuang fought, the Demon-Winged clan's peak experts were still 1 less than the Celestial Realm's 100 clans, and they did not have the power to break through Tianhuang City. Afterwards, Mo Tianji returned to Devil Imperial City, but she lost her original body. Her power was greatly reduced, and she did not have the power to attack. Mo Tianji became one of Yi Shang's subordinates. The Demon-Winged clan had even less power to attack. Tran Hung left, and Night Sorrow hurriedly arranged for people to set up defenses. At the same time, he ordered the City Lord's mansion to prepare for battle, urging the experts of each Divine Beast clan to come. Other than the Golden Dragon King who was originally in Tianhuang City, the Council of Elders notified the Heavenly Astral King, Huang Ling, Blood Qilin King, Ancestor Green Rock, and the Black Tortoise King who had returned to their clans. When the Council of Elders asked Night Sorrow whether or not to notify the White Tiger King, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and shook his head. The White Tiger constellation has always been sealed, so we will not disturb them for now. If Mo Yutian comes, our current power can contain and hold him back. We can hold out until the Grand Elder returns. Great Commander, when I returned to the clan during that time, the Clan Elder asked about Tianhuang City. He is very concerned about Tianhuang City, so it is appropriate for him to come now. Lin Chuan said. Let him come. After not seeing each other for so many years, we should gather. This is already the last era of the Celestial Realm. He should not always lie down in the White Tiger territory. The Golden Dragon King spoke. After everything was arranged, Night Sorrow checked the situation of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. He found that Qin Qianjie had added 2 million Saint Spirit Stones to the pagoda. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow went to the core of the Heaven Wasteland Tower. With 1,000 Emperor Spirit Stones as the foundation and an Emperor Spirit Stone as the core, he set up a spirit gathering array to gather energy. This way, the offensive and defensive capabilities of the Heaven Wasteland Tower were raised to another level. Then, Night Sorrow changed the Spirit Stones in the base of the defensive array around the Heaven Wasteland Tower and used the Monarch Spirit Stone. As the level of the formation increased, the practitioners in the Heavenly Desolate City all sensed the change, because the sky above the Heavenly Desolate City was filled with surging energy. The Golden Dragon King came to find Night Sorrow. Seeing that Night Sorrow was still constantly perfecting the defensive array, he understood everything. Monarch Spirit Stone. Seeing that Night Sorrow was continuously taking out Spirit Stones, the Golden Dragon King's eyes were full of shock. After Night Sorrow finished changing an array foundation, he clapped his hands and asked the Golden Dragon King, "It's a Monarch Spirit Stone. I also changed the core area for an Emperor Spirit Stone. Do you want it?" "Yes, we'll play with them together," the Golden Dragon King said. Night Sorrow took out a small bag of Monarch Spirit Stones and Emperor Spirit Stones and handed them to the Golden Dragon King. "I'm just playing with them. You need them in many places." The Golden Dragon King reached out and only took one. With a smile, Night Sorrow took out another Emperor Spirit Stone and threw it to the Golden Dragon King. This is not bad. It's equivalent to a pile of Emperor Spirit Stones. I can't bear to use it. Holding the Emperor's Spirit Stone, the Golden Dragon King was stunned. He had never heard of the Emperor's Spirit Stone. The Emperor's Spirit Stone was a legendary item. This is good stuff. There are only a few pieces in the world. Night Sorrow looked at the dazed Golden Dragon King and said, "Night Sorrow, isn't this a little too precious?" The Golden Dragon King looked at Night Sorrow and asked. He knew that this Emperor Spirit Stone was equivalent to hundreds of Emperor Spirit Stones. It couldn't be exchanged. It was like how a piece of top-grade Saint Spirit Stone could be exchanged for 100 Saint Spirit Stones, but 100 Saint Spirit Stones couldn't be exchanged for a piece of top-grade Saint Spirit Stone. Play with it. Don't you dragons like shiny things? This is not bad. Night Sorrow smiled. The Golden Dragon King smiled at Night Sorrow and didn't say anything more. Night Sorrow changed the array around the Heaven Wasteland Tower and felt a lot more at ease. In the past, the array's power could injure Emo Jantin. Now, the array's power had at least doubled. If Emo Yutian attacked, not only was he confident that he could defend Heaven Wasteland City, he could also injure Emo Yutian. Night Sorrow, back in Jean Capital, that move of yours was very domineering. What was it called? The Golden Dragon King put away the Emperor Spirit Stone and asked. The reincarnation spear technique of the sky drawing spear technique isn't that powerful. It was executed with the help of the Heaven Wasteland Tower. Back then, I could only use that level of attack 2 to 3 times. I only dared to use it when I found out that Martial Uncle was here. Night Sorrow said. He knew that he wasn't strong enough. If he was stronger, then the power of the Heaven Wasteland Tower's attack and suppression would be much stronger. Then, Emo Jantian wouldn't be able to leave so easily. He would be suppressed and wouldn't be able to escape once he entered Heaven Wasteland City. It's powerful enough. That means that Emo Jantian's cultivation is at the Soul Unification realm. He's indeed strong. If he was at the 7th Emperor Tribulation and 8th Emperor Tribulation, he wouldn't be able to escape. The Golden Dragon King said. The 9th Emperor Tribulation and the Soul Unification realm is the strongest realm we know of. It's not that easy to suppress. Night Sorrow shook his head. Some things were true. Emo Jantian's strength was undeniable. Q plus K plus K? Let's go. The 9th Emperor Tribulation and the Soul Unification realm are the strongest realms below the God-destroying Tribulation. A few of them will appear in every reincarnation cycle. Being able to injure Emo Jantian is already a great achievement. I wonder how the battle between King Yowu and Emo Jantian is going. However, if Emo Jantian only runs away and doesn't fight, it will be very difficult to kill him. After all, there's no difference between the two realms, the Golden Dragon King said. He was talking about a common phenomenon among cultivators. In a situation where the difference in combat strength wasn't too big, it was easy to defeat and run away. However, it was difficult to kill. In order to kill, one must have the ability to suppress the opponent. King Yowu was a giant of the 100 clans of the Celestial Realm. However, Emo Jantian was also one of the 3 greatest heavens of the Demon-Winged clan. His combat strength was obvious to all. Therefore, the Golden Dragon King was very worried about the battle between King Yowu and Emo Jantian. I've thought about this before. The City Lord has also thought about it. That's why we're rushing over. What I'm worried about now is that Emo Jantian must have a backup plan. He won't let the City Lord and my Uncle Master form a joint attack, Night Sorrow said. Emo Jantian only has 2 choices. One is to run back to the Demon Imperial City. The other is that his speed is much faster than King Yowu's and he can shake King Yowu off. Then he can hide. However, this should be very difficult, right? The Golden Dragon King said. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.